issue's appropriate level before coming to the board. And you will have 3 minutes for your comments. Jasmine Clay.
Hello. Time started? Hello. Good evening, members of the board and district staff. My name is Jasmine Clay, and I'm the proud mother of 2 students who have attended Poughkeepsie High School. I'm here tonight because I've seen firsthand how our children can be failed by systems that are supposed to protect them. On September 18, 2025, my daughter, Amiley Austin, was accused of vaping in a school bathroom. No vape was ever found. She was questioned by 2 male administrators, Mr. Mazzetti and Mr. Parks, behind a closed door, denied the opportunity to contact me, and suspended for 2 days before I was ever notified or allowed to review any evidence. This is not the first time I've had to stand before this district for the same kind of treatment. My son was also failed under the leadership of some of these same administrators, including Mr. Mazzetti and Mr. Parks. His situation too reflected a lack of communication, accountability, and respect for due process. When patterns repeat themselves across years in children, it's not coincidence, it's culture. And culture is what leadership must be willing to confront. I have a 35-minute recording from my September 19th meeting with Mr. Mazzetti that contradicts the district's written report about my daughter's case. It shows that parental contact was requested and denied, and that due process procedures were not followed. This isn't about vengeance, it's about justice and prevention. I'm asking the board to review this case independently, to hold your administrators accountable, and to take corrective action so no other parent has to experience what my family had. I love this community. I've worked beside many of you to support our youth. I still believe in the potential of this district, but belief must be met with honesty, transparency, and change. But then I get on the phone and I hear a different story. Listen, you know the long history that I hear in the situation with the shooting. That wasn't right.
I think it's racist.
Right.
I'm sure it's being, well, no shit to be back. But okay.
You can't use somebody's voice without permission. You can't.
I'm not using it, it's a recording of a meeting that I attended.
But I'm sorry, without the other parties, I can't permit that. We don't have permission to use the voice. And we can't talk about student members.
Ms. Turner, is there anyone that can follow up with her?
Yes.
For her that can hear, whatever, so I'm just requesting that someone follow up, Ms. Turner, to be known from the assignment.
Yeah, and if I could just interject, this is Kate Reed, the district's legal counsel. Per our policy and code of conduct, any parent who disagrees with a superintendent's suspension decision may file a formal appeal to the Board of Education. And this parent absolutely can exercise that right, and that appeal would be considered confidentially to protect the student's confidentiality in executive session. This is absolutely not something we should be discussing on the floor in a public format where the public is privy to this child's confidential information.
This is absolutely something that should be discussed in front of this board and in front of everyone who's going to see this video who attends the Poughkeepsie City School District, especially Poughkeepsie High School. These are not the only children that have faced these problems. My daughter was searched behind a closed door with 2 male administrators, and they lied to me about it. That's a problem here.
We understand your concern, but we cannot have this in a problem.
You don't understand my concern, Mr. Creedon, because if you did, you would understand why I'm here today. I have not gotten a response from the district since I've sent my formal request and the follow-up to their written request. Is there anything the board can do regarding that?
Yes, so you should go and file that, official appeal, so that we can do what we have to do, but I agree. You don't wanna put too much of your child's business on, in this forum. If we're gonna give you a space to have that discussion behind closed doors, only to really to protect your child. You don't want a student to see this, if you're doing it, so, file the appeal. Do the process, okay, to tell them so that there can be confidential and you can have a decision. You have to. I think what we want to plan.
Okay,
I think that's probably.
thank you.
Give her one, she needs to appeal to me, so I can send it to the board.
Thanks, Becky.
Daniel Alexander. That's.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Daniel Alexander. And I have an issue with the bus system, and I've been this up from last year, and it's the same thing, even worse this year. And my daughter to get up so early in the morning at 6 o'clock, they tell about 6 o'clock to be driving around Poughkeepsie for 2 hours before she get to school. And I think that is ridiculous. And last year I made the same complaint, and nobody reached out to me. And that's why we're in this position right now. And not to throw any jobs at anybody here, but it seems like once the head of the stream is lackadaisical, it's gonna be a lackadaisical because the meeting's supposed to start here at 6 o'clock, 6:30, when the meeting started at 6:50. And that is a joke. That's why all the staff and members behave this way. Because if the head is behaving this way, what say the others? And we need a change. But my concern is bus system. And I can't have my daughter getting up early in the morning. The bus, drive around, or 2 hours, just to get to school. Back and forth. She spent half the day. And if half the time on the bus, I should spend in school half the time. And that's ridiculous. That's it from me. Thank you.
Can we get his information so that he can be. Please.
That, will. The line, so that concludes the citizens' comment. Next on our workshop topic, we have, our external auditor report.
Hi, my name is Melissa Scott. I'm the engagement partner for the external audit for fiscal year ending June 30, 2025. We're gonna go ahead and present on this PowerPoint slide that just summarizes the information for the audit. Tonight, we're gonna talk about some required communication. We'll go high level on the general fund results. I have for you a schedule of the revenue summary as well as the expenditure summary. And then I presented for you a 5-year fund balance history as well of the general fund. The school district operates other funds, so we'll go over the results of those, as well as the debt service summary. So part of the external audit process, management and those charged with governance have certain responsibilities. Those charged with governance would be the audit committee as well as the board of things, which makes, I think, there's certain responsibilities of management, those charged with governance. Those charged with governance would be the audit committee as well as the full board of education. Making sure that the accounting policies are selected and implemented. The financial statements that are presented, that they should be presented for the United States General Accepted Accounting Code. Internal controls are really important in any organization, so making sure that those are selected and maintained by doing a periodic review, which provides that there's certain checks and balances in the district. Compliance with any laws and regulations of the school district, as well as any provisions of contracts that the school district enters into. The external audit process has a lot of back and forth information from us, so just making sure that we're providing all of the information we request. And then most importantly, setting a proper tone at the top, making sure that there's high ethical values that trickle down and is communicated to the school. On the next page, we have certain responsibilities as well. Excuse me. As part of this external audit process. The deliverables are the reports that we have issued tonight. The independent auditor's report is included in the financial statements. We have issued an unmodified opinion. Sometimes you will hear that referred to as a clean opinion. It is the best opinion that the school district can receive. We have issued a yellow book report, that's a report on controls and compliance. An extra classroom activities report, that would be all of the student club activities, so the revenue and expenditures going out. In one document, we have the required communications to those charged with governance, including the management letter. And lastly would be the single audit, that's the report on compliance for your major federal programs. Currently, for the federal single audit, we are waiting on the Office of Management and Budget with the federal government. They have issued a preliminary compliance supplement that we utilize to do the for a federal audit. Unfortunately, they have not issued a final one, so we're going to wait until the RMD issues the final one in order to issue that report. We're happy to report that there were no fraud or legal acts noted as part of the audit process. There were no significant difficulties, no uncorrected misstatements, and no disagreements with management. For our timeline, we were out there testing the controls on June 25th. We tested the balances included in the financial statements the week of September 22nd. And I just wanted to point out that we do have to wait for the New York State pension system in order to release the report and prepare a draft. It was the latest that it was released this year, which was September 8th. And then tonight, we did meet with the audit committee. I went over all the information in the PowerPoint tonight, as well as all the information in the document provided. It was a really long conversation, a really great discussion, about an hour and a half. So I really appreciate the audit committee's time going over all the information. So let's go over the numbers on slide 5. This is going to be a schedule of the summary of the general fund of the school district. The first column is going to be your original budget. That's the budget that was adopted by the voters. And it also includes the prior year purchase orders. So those will roll into that budget. Your second column is your final budget. That would include any budget amendments or budget transfers that come to the board and get approved. Your actual results are in column 3. Your fourth column is your encumbrances. Those are your current purchase orders that have not yet been fulfilled. So at 949,000 will roll into the 25-26 budget to provide some purchasing power. And then you have your variance with your final budget, which also factors into the purchase orders. Your revenues, if we look at the actual number, 140 million. In the variance column, we did almost 5.4 better than what you budgeted. On your expenditures, that's the money going out, you spent 135.2 million. Factoring in those purchase orders, you did 6.2 better than budget. So it's spending below the budget. Those are operating items. Below that is your other financing sources and uses. So it would be considered similar to a non-operating item. You have your issuance premium. There was a bond issued this year, so you did receive a $1.8 million premium on that. as well as some transfers in and out between the other funds the school district has. Your net change in fund balance is your third row from the bottom. Your original budget column is your 7.76 million. That's made up of two items. One item is your appropriated fund balance. That would be 3.5 million. That was included in the 24-25 adopted budget to utilize your fund balance to help balance the budget. In addition to that, you had 4.2 million of those purchase orders that we talked about that rolled and added into the fund, into the original budget. So that's your total 7.7 million. If you go to your final budget column, that 7.7 million increase to 8.8 million. That increase of $1 million was related to the Warren Ceiling Emergency Project that got approved during the year. So you utilized unassigned general fund balance to assist for paying for that emergency project. So end of day of your final budget, you anticipated spending $8.8 million of the general fund balance. If you go to the actual column, instead of using fund balance, you actually added to fund balance of about 5.4 million. You started out the year at 50 million, you ended at 55.7. You are within the 4%, which is required of the school district, and we'll go over that on the future slide. So on page 6 is going to be a detail of your revenues. We had mentioned on the previous page on the summary that you had about 5.4 million better of revenues than what you budgeted. Those are really made up of 2 or 3 different items. I did want to point out that the property tax at the start, you can see that that revenue came in under budget at 1.2. The school district is a city school district. You are made whole by the city every 2 years. So even though that 1.2 looks like the revenue did not come in, it will come in over time. So at the second year, the city will make this school district whole, and you will receive 100% of that, those taxes, just an accounting aspect. A large surplus I wanted to point out is your use of money on property toward the middle of the page. You budgeted about 1.7 million, you received about 2.5, so almost 750,000 better than budgeted. This year was a higher interest year. Last year was even a higher one. The school district is invested in NILAC. It's a municipal pool investment fund. Last year it was earning about 5%, and then in the 25 year, it was about 4.2%. And a high year interest earning year, it's good to utilize those interests to help fund your reserve. The next line item that I wanted to point out is your state aid. So a couple 2 lines below that. You can see you received about 2.8 million over what you budgeted. This is a formula based on the state aid formula, which includes people and all the data that the school district inputs into it. There was an increase in foundation aid of 2% from the prior year, as well as it can be difficult to budget for this due to the timing of when the state releases their information. So the school district has to anticipate what they think that increase will be. The last item is your miscellaneous. You can see the miscellaneous came in at about 4.5 million, about 3.2 over what you budgeted. There are 2 items identified in that. The largest of the 2 is a $2 million grant, an Empire grant that was written off in the prior year due to uncollectability. The school district did its due diligence and filed all the necessary paperwork to obtain that $2 million grant. So we're happy to report that that's reported in the miscellaneous under a refund of prior year. The smaller of the 2 items is about 500,000 of BOCES, refund of BOCES. There's also a timing issue. Generally, the school district is relatively conservative on reporting the payables in the general fund for the BOCES. When BOCES does send in the invoices, those may come in lower than anticipated, and that will fall to this item, this line item. The next piece is going to be your issuance premium. As we talked about, the 1.8 million is included as part of your bond issuance, so that is a premium that can help assist in the future debt service payments of the school district. Let's move on to the expenditures on the following page. We talked about that the expenditures came in under budget about 6.2 million. You can see that there are different functions here, so it's got general government support instruction. These are various functions that the school district has. Your general government support includes costs that cover administrative and central support services that are necessary to operate the school district. And that came in under budget about 602,000, mostly related to the operation of plants, which includes your utilities. Your instruction line item is your largest expenditure line and is the most essential function. It encompasses all activities directly dealing with teaching and learning in the classrooms. That is your largest budgetary savings of about 3.5 million. Most of that savings was related to BOCES services and tuition paid to other school districts that wasn't needed to be paid out. Your next line item is your transportation. That would be transporting students to the schools and any field trips. There was about $400,000 saving related to a BOCES co-op and some contractual items. Your community services would be any items related to the auditorium and security, and then your employee benefits. Employee benefits would be your second largest line item on your expense side, and that's basically to account for all fringe benefits for the school district employees, regardless of what function they're categorized under. That had a savings of about 1.2 million. Those are related to your ERS retirement contributions, your TRS invoices, as well as your hospital and medical. And those timings can change depending on the rates that come out and when it's budgeted. Your next line item is your debt service. That'll be for any principal and interest on your serial bonds, your energy performance contracts, as well as your bond anticipation note interest. And your last item is your transfers out. There was about 1.6 million that you transferred to other funds. 1.4 of that went to capital. As we talked about, there was that ceiling emergency repair of $1 million, so that got transferred to the capital project fund. If we go to your general fund balance, this provides you with a 5-year history of the general fund balance. This general fund has 4 different buckets currently. Your non-spendable is your prepaid items. So those are already earmarked and will be spent in your 25-26 year. Your restricted bucket would be any reserves restricted based on education law or general municipal law. You can see that the largest increase was your ERS retirement system contribution, and that can assist in paying your retirement invoices in the future. You also had a new debt service reserve. Your debt service fund was closed and it's now being reported in your debt service in your general fund. So any money that's included in here, that 2.2 million, you can use towards the future to assist with paying down principal and interest in order to relieve some of the tax burden. The next line item is your assigned, that would be internal assignments. Your purchases on order, that 949,000, that will be rolled into next year's budget. And then the $2 million in 25, that is what you utilize in your 25-26 budget to help balance the budget as well. The school district is at 5.9 million and you're unassigned. Your unassigned fund balance is free and clear to be spent on any school district purposes. The state does mandate that school district be under 4%. If you are over 4%, the school district will have to have a plan, but you did meet the 4% tax plan items. On the next slide is your other funds. You have your capital projects fund that would include any activities within your ongoing capital projects. As I mentioned, you did issue a general obligation bond this year, 19.9 million. That was that issuance premium in the general fund related to this. You did have some revenues related to some insurance recoveries, as well as a Smart School Bond Act money that came in. Your capital project fund did end in a deficit of about 4.5 million. It is common, as you can see below that, you have a bond anticipation notes payable. That is short-term financing to finance any of your projects. That is the most cost-saving option for you to help with your cash flow of these projects. Your special aid fund would include any of your restricted federal and state grants. That would include your title grants and your IDEA grants. Your school lunch fund would be to record any of the cafeteria activities. Your special purpose fund mostly includes your extra classroom activities, so all your student club activities that you have. And then your debt service fund, so this will be the last year that you'll see debt service on here, because that got closed and got moved into the general fund. And lastly, on the last slide is your debt service summary. This is all of the debt that the school district currently has outstanding. About 59.9 million. On the top chart, you have the first few lines are gonna be your general obligation bonds. You have some DASNY debt, as well as your energy performance contract payable. Those will mature over time, with the last one maturing in 2040. The payments to maturity shows you for each category how much you'll be paying every year through maturity. If you take the total principal and total interest, you're currently at about 5.3% of your annual budget. That's generally where we see most of our school districts, anywhere between a 4% and an 8%, depending on the total needs of the school district. That does conclude my presentation, but I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
Let's start now.
Can you explain a little bit about the unspent grant funds? Are those itemized by fund, and is there a way to see what those funds were earmarked for?
Sure. So they're not going to be reported specifically in the financial statements. The business office does have a listing of the grants that are received. It's a project plan schedule that includes the budget that's authorized by the state. Even federal funding that get passed through the state will be included in there. It will show the total cumulative expenditures, as well as any amount that's due that have not been paid out yet. So the business office can definitely get you a list of the specific. Most of the time, some of those grant budgets will be rolled into the next year. I believe the school district has to file funding for that, but it will roll into the fund.
Yeah, we have to file the paperwork with the state to roll over the funds to the following year. And we are in the process of, some of them have been filed, and we are in the process of filing the rest of the grants. And I can provide you the listing of the grants as well.
But there's no risk to losing any of the funds, not using them in the year that they were granted.
It depends on the type of grant. Generally speaking, the school district would get an advance for maybe 25% of the grant, depending on the grant. That would be spent down, but anything that's left over, if you file the paperwork, that will get rolled into it. Most of the time I do see it rolled. But that's also reportable by New York State, so we can provide that information as well.
And also the district request to issue an internal audit on the federal grants. We started in January. We are in final completion, so that's going to be brought to the audit committee in November.
Eleanor, could you go next?
Well, I'm just happy to see that the school tax haven't increased much. Way to go for that. But the property tax, sorry. In regards to last year versus this year, do you think that as a district, we're doing well in regards to our budget? Taking in light of, you know, where we are with the economy federally in regards to the funds, how do you think we're doing, as a district?
Thank you for the question. Costs are constantly increasing, so it makes it really challenging to budget. In addition to the federal government and the amount of grants that the school district receives. I know that there's been discussion about certain grants, whether it's IDEA, the English language learning grants, that are kind of up in the air.
And I'm not to especially medic, because our students with exceptionalities, you know, like that's funded, right?
Yeah.
So that's my concern. I want to make sure that the district is receiving, you know, we already at, God forbid, those funds are taken away. Is our district, how we do think our district will be in regards to those type of ones?
I think the district has a good amount of reserves right now to assist with other costs as well. So if you're retired, you have your ERS retirement system. That's at about 6.6 million, your TRS is about 2.8. Okay, so you can help supplement those costs as well, depending on how the federal grants work out. In addition, you do have the debt service reserve of about 2.2 million, which can help pay your principal and interest in the future as well. So you do have some reserves that you can utilize in the future, and that's really what these are supposed to
That's
be.
it. Because at this point, we don't want to lay anyone off, we want to be able to maintain what we have.
Yes, and it's hard to know what the state's, I mean, I know I just read an article that the state plans on increasing their state aid again in 25, 26, 26, 27. So I think just depending on see what how they'll react to the ultimate conclusion of what the grant says as well.
Thank you so much.
The preliminary audit state report is gonna come around January, so we're gonna be able to see those numbers in January.
Thank you so much. Those numbers.
Thank you for your presentation. Maybe it's good to see the unassigned $5.9 million. I think it was my first board meeting, maybe it was my second board meeting. I had questions about student field trips, and we're saying $5.9 million will be used anywhere in the district. Can someone explain to me why we can't use it on school trips? Maybe Mr. Knopf?
Thank you, that's a very good question, I appreciate that. The restricted fund balance that we have on the district is like a savings account, and that money is specifically for certain areas that we have. Either the capital project on the capital reserve, ERS and VRS. Unrestricted fund balance is the 4% we have. We are, during the course of the year, the voters approve the budget for certain amount. We are not allowed on that particular year to take that money from our savings account. We can allocate it on the following school year when we do our budget. And that's what we did last year, use funds from our reserves funds, unrestricted fund balance to allocate towards the different needs of the school district and our students. We allocated last year fund field trips. We have a field trip line under our general fund budget for each individual building. We also have a field trip line under the community schools. If you look under our budget, there's another field trip line in the community schools. But we also, in addition to that, we have field trip lines under the SIG money federal grants, which we're working right now with Ms. Bisky, that we're gonna let know the buildings, what is allocated under the field trip. So we have 3 different areas allocated for field trips for our students.
Okay, that's good to know. I feel like the last time we spoke about this, I got a different answer. I thought the last time you said that, these things are being taken away because of food being offered to the kids or something like that.
The field trips allocation and food allocation are two different areas. The field trips are specifically for purchasing the tickets for the kids if they visit certain park or certain event, for transportation. The food is one area that has special restriction by the state education department controller's office, how can be allocated on the taxpayers' funds. So very different.
One of the issues with our seniors going on into the district, right?
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
But, your microphone, sorry.
I'm not micromanaging, I just want, she spoke about this the last time, she said one thing, and I just want to clarify, what she's saying is the same today.
But we can't make guarantees on.
Okay, so don't guarantee me anything, but what I want to say, what I am saying is that it's changed since the last time we spoke. So that's the only thing I'm pointing out, is that it's changed.
The field trips and the food are two different things. So the field trips are initiated by the buildings. So the buildings have, and the curriculum department have certain instructional needs for the students to provide students with the experiences, and they send that field trips approval of the assistant superintendent of schools. So the superintendent of schools approves that, and then comes down to the business office for allocation of funds and transportation purposes.
And if it would be helpful, Board President, this is Attorney Reed. I'm happy to weigh in just on the legalities of this to reinforce with, your CFO, Ms. Lakai is saying. So essentially, according to the state, there are strict restrictions over when school district monies can be spent on field trips. The only time that we are legally authorized by the Comptroller's Office and the Attorney General's Office to expend funds on field trips is where that field trip has been demonstrated to have a curricular necessity, essentially, right? If there is a curricular purpose.
I'm questioning the law, right? I don't want you to, you don't have to get into legal stuff. I'm not really questioning the law or the legalities of the law. I think I'm just making a point that we want to make sure that we are supporting our youth in the district beyond just in the classroom. And that they are experiencing things outside of the classroom. I'm from the city of Poughkeepsie. I know people who've never left the city of Poughkeepsie, right? I know people who are who've never even been on the train to go to New York City, right? So a field trip from New York City to Poughkeepsie will change, from Poughkeepsie to New York City will change the child's life. So I want to just keep that in the front of our minds. Like we gotta, so what happens in the district? The kids are only here 20% of their time, 80% is outside of school. My concern is that are we giving these children experiences that they can use that will change their life? And it's something simple as a trip to New York, a trip to Beacon. There are kids who've never been to Beacon, who've never been to FDR Museum. Like those are the things I'm talking about, not the legalities of it all. I just want to make sure that these things are in the front of our mind when we're saying we got $5.9 million, in a fund balance, that we also looking at that to support our youth. The only other thing I was concerned with the last time, we spoke about the buses and the buses being an issue, but I'm hoping that maybe next year we can figure out a way to pay for all our youth to go to school, all our elementary kids get on the bus, if we have this amount of money left over, right? I think that the school reconfiguration has put a lot of stress on families, mainly because kids who wouldn't have to cross the arterials now because of us have to cross arterials. Kids who were going to school at Truth Elementary now have to go to school at Clinton Elementary, and we're not giving them a bus and we're making it unsafe for them to get to school. So these are the things I'm thinking about, not the minutia, the legal stuff, but I want to think about the actual decisions we're making that are affecting the youth and the children. I'll just leave it there. I hope that that is taken into consideration. I'm sorry.
No, thank you for your comments. Thank you.
I somewhat feel compelled to point out that the Community Foundation supports several field trips more in the venue that you're speaking of as opposed to the further mentions, So we have some charitable donation for the field trip, and as you're here longer, you'll see that.
Yeah, but I mean, that's investing outside the community. What are we doing here?
No, that's they sponsor, multiple trips to Washington, Philadelphia, other New York City for plays with the Community Foundation. So they're all, we have to factor all those things in.
I agree. We have some wonderful events during the course of the year, and most of those events, frankly, Ms. Turner's department for approval, we will be more than glad to provide you with those information, because we really have some fantastic events for our students in the course of the year that we are very proud of.
Sure.
I was just gonna chime in that our high school principal, who's sitting in the audience, Dr. Simpson, was working with Dr. Bisbee this week. We've been having conversations about the trips and everything that she's planning for students, and I know that exists in all our other spaces, so we'd be happy to create a little report for the board that shows the experiences that we're doing. And then also maybe aligning how those are being funded and explaining that piece.
That's great. That's actually really good.
Yeah, we can do a lot of love.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Turner, just to chime in, I'm sorry. And can we also, just maybe for the board touch on some of the classrooms too, instead of our teachers going on donors? I don't know if they're allotted a little bit of money to fix up the classroom, but that would be nice to visit in the middle school. I love it. I love the new change in it, but it'd be nice, for the teachers to have, skeletons on the wall of science and things of that nature, and make the classrooms look inviting. Thank you.
I'll let it go with that. Our next, thank you for the.
Thank you so much.
Report.
Thank you so much.
That's one. Also,
So I'm gonna ask, my colleague, Principal Atkins, to come to the front.
That's fine.
So typically I would be sitting down beside him tonight I'm up here, as a substitute for Mr. Bott, who's working and advocating for our district with Dr. Medino on community schools. So what I want to say before we begin, if we can get the presentation on. So, good evening, President Keating and our fellow board members. I just want to remind ourselves that our superintendent's message at the beginning of the year has centered and focused on a vision for supporting students in the urgency of now. In alignment with that vision, our building leaders have developed success plans, and we have seen the primary and high school success plan at the beginning of September. These plans are intentionally designed to support the whole child, focusing on academics, behavior, and community outreach and parent support and involvement. This evening, during our workshop session, we are going to take a look at our middle school, and our leader, Principal Atkins, is here to share with you some information alongside myself. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Principal Atkins.
Awesome. Good evening, Assistant Sue and members of the board.
That's okay.
Next slide. Before I start to talk about the culture, because the middle school is changing in a positive direction, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Dr. Simpson, who has kind of been my guide as a mentor, as a youth principal, and who I speak to basically on a daily basis, particularly when it comes to making big decisions that can impact students, families, and teachers. This is the presentation. This is the entire presentation. When you look at the slide, you see our school, you see our teachers, you see the classroom, you see administrators, but there's a few things on the slide that I do want to highlight. Our Poughkeepsie Middle School PBIS RISE expectations. We do have a RISE pledge that has been created, but this is something that, the students reiterate every morning. We do the pledge and then we do our RISE expectation. And it's really good, but we want to make sure that we're reintroducing it this year as we have some different alignment that wasn't necessarily there last year, but the respect others, involve yourself in learning, show responsibility, and ensure safety. As you're looking at these photos, I do want to highlight a few photos before we go on. On the left, the young man, he received the RISE Spotlight. So each month from the Office of Climate and Culture, not only do we do Student of the Month, but we do the RISE Spotlight. And, the student has to meet a certain criteria, have the grades, good attendance, but also receive multiple positive referrals from teachers. And then on the left of that side, the young lady who was our Student of the Month for 6th grade. And then on the bottom, was it right? That was our first town hall. So we'll talk a lot about tonight about vertical alignment, but making sure these are clear and concise to grade levels. All right, so just an overview. This data was pulled 10/5/2025. Right now in the middle school, we have a total of 911 students. The administrative team is the following: myself as a principal, Ms. Beavers, who is our 6th grade assistant principal. We did lose one assistant principal for 7th grade. However, Mr. Jackson has been filling in supporting the 7th grade, and really focusing on consistency as a sub administrator in the building. Ms. Coxon would be our 8th grade assistant principal, and we have Ms. Green as our assistant principal of climate and culture. And again, just the breakdown for 6th grade, on 10/5/2025, we have a total of 309 students. And 6th grade, 7th grade, 280, and 8th grade, a total of 322 students.
Just a. Is this up or down from last year, or do you know? Just a quick question.
It's up.
It's up.
Slide. All right, so, our support team, there are a few members that are missing from this list, but our building is comprised of one school psychologist, we have two social workers, one is full-time in our building, the other one is split with the high school, behavioral specialist, transitional specialist, and three crisis intervention workers, who play a major role in our building, and they are assigned to each grade level. We have our, security team, Ms. Wiggins, who, holds us down on a daily basis. Our, three, school counselors in our building also has, SEL counselors. And then, we do have, an addition this year of three school monitors that support us with, the cafeteria and the hallways.
So now we shift to the point of the presentation where we look at some data. Now we shift to the point of the presentation where we look at our data. When we think about staying in the vein of the urgency of now, it's important for us to know where we are beginning, so we can set goals and decide where we want to go. In order to do that, in Poughkeepsie, we begin with our universal screener, which is part of our assessment system. So the data you see here is from our iReady diagnostic data, and it is the end of year last year. So similar to the presentation that we gave in September with our primary students, that where you're looking, if we orientate ourselves to this slide, the information about sixth grade was where our fifth graders ended last year. So you can see, sixth grade reading at the end of last year, 88% of our fifth graders ended the year 1 or 2 grade levels below in their reading level. Then 7% were 1 grade level below. And then the green represents 5% of students who are on or above. The blue in this slide represents the mid-year target that we have set. And we set that target to be achievable by the middle of the year, which is that January, February. So you can see we've set a target to move that 7% in the yellow up to the green. That doesn't mean that we aren't moving to support our students in the red, but as a mid-year goal, as opposed to an end-year goal, we are helping our students recover that 1 year through small group and other interventions within a couple months. That's our goal.
Since iReady is fairly instantaneous giving data, in the past, we've heard about the summer. We test them in June, they're here, and they come back in the summer, and they lose a lot of ground. Oh, when you start to do the iReady, can you at least take a look at that to see if we had that summer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I know this data is not there, that's all.
Yeah, we just finished our. It's not staying on. In the middle of, we just closed our beginning of year assessment.
Yeah, now it's on.
Okay. We just finished our beginning of year assessments, and so our leaders will be looking alongside their teachers and other educators in the building, taking a look at that, where our students perform now at the beginning of year, so they will have that information. And they do have those data conversations during their faculty meetings, grade level meetings, their common planning time, and we will also be looking at that at the district level. So again, this slide shows you that information for reading and math across the grades. Then when we move to the next slide, we're looking at preliminary ELA performance according to the state. So this is a one-time snapshot of data and our students' performance. as opposed to iReady, where we can take a look and diagnose where our students are across the year. This is given by the state. We don't get to choose the window when students take this assessment, and it's one time. And you can see here that last year, our students in each grade level will stay with sixth grade. This is last year's sixth graders, this year's current seventh graders were 43% below grade level, 32% partially proficient, 18% proficient, and 7% advanced. That's for LA. Then when we take a look at the math performance on the next slide, you can see similar data. We can see where our math performance was at the when spring, April is when the state assessments are given. So we can see what the performance was then. And again, when we take a look at with Mr. Mott and his convocation at the beginning of the year and talking about the urgency of now, it's just we have to understand where we are in order to set goals to go forward. So this data launches our building teams into setting their success plans. Next slide.
Okay, so when we get to talking about planning for success, just highlight a few things that me and the administrative team were able to do over the summer. As I did start this job in the summer, we hosted a collaborative meeting with teachers over the summer. So this was, during the summer, but we wanted to make sure teachers came in to create some shared agreements prior to the school year opening. And, I was really, wouldn't say surprised, but really grateful for the amount of teachers that took their time to come into the building. Not only to, invest in what's to come, but to give feedback on what are best practices. What are things that we need to absolutely get rid of? What are things that need to be highlighted in the building? What things do we need to continue? Along with that meeting that we did have with teachers to help plan for opening in September, we created an anonymous Google form that was sent out to teachers to give feedback because we understood that, some folks may have been on vacation or may not been able to make the meeting during that day and time. So we did, again, using the feedback that we received to create some priorities, but also to align ourselves and get ready to open up the school year. Sixth grade orientation was very successful. I know in a few slides down, we're going to look at the numbers, but we did host a sixth grade / new student orientation over the summer, which was really nice. And again, being a new principal in the building, but also having a change in the administrative team, we hosted a 7th and 8th grade orientation with parents, and we did it both virtually and in person to get feedback, but also to make sure that we were online and setting that expectation prior to the school year opening. The one in person wasn't very successful, but the one virtual one that we did have a lot of families that did attend. So again, when you talk about planning for success and focusing, here are some focus areas. Really want to emphasize on consistency, accountability, and collaboration. That's not only with students, families, but also teachers, faculty, and staff, so we're on the same page. Prioritizing safety, structure, and student engagement. And again, as I mentioned before, sending out a Google form, getting feedback from teachers, meeting with them in person, talking with families. Safety was one of the things that came up a bunch of times. Using data driven decision making to enhance student outcomes. We looked at the data over the summer. We looked at the trends. We looked at pass fail rates for particular classes, but also as it relates to referrals and discipline. And opening up the school year with proactive interventions, whether it was already putting students in lunch bunch groups or putting them in a certain tiered intervention. So as soon as they came in front of us or came into the building, they had a level of support that was there. And then again, aligning all adults with shared expectations and goals. So how are we going to get there? Just looking at a few strategies and tools. At Poughkeepsie Middle School, we had daily COPs with the teachers based on grade level. So we all come together with administrators, and each, we have mindful Mondays where we screen the assistant principal of climate and culture, does some mindful things with the teachers. Friday is, parent phone call day. Really focusing, not on the bad things, but also on the positive. So making really good phone calls and then add, the other things throughout the week, whether it's a meeting with the department, that the teacher is in, the content area, or, focusing on literacy or mission, or instruction, is really important. Monthly staff meetings and department meetings, aligning ourselves with, Poughkeepsie High School has been a major plus. Working with Dr. Simpson this month, we do have a shared department meeting, so the high school team will be coming over. And this is really important when building up a middle school student and preparing them for high school. Again, on a few slides, I talked about mission literacy and academic vocabulary and why that's so important. Just some progress in monitoring using CFAs, common formative assessment. So this will happen along with mission literacy, using data, whether it's iReady, classroom visits, meeting agendas. And the follow-up from the meeting agendas is really important to make sure that we're checking all items. Target to 10% increase in student performance and decrease student referrals, and we absolutely did that. Kicking off no referrals September, really proud of the whole building, particularly the sixth grade, and I'll talk about that in a few slides now. Going back to mission literacy, aligning ourselves with the high school that has rolled out mission literacy, under the leadership of Dr. Simpson. What that basically is making sure that literacy is across all content areas, not just in ELA. So really having vertical alignment with the high school. Sorry. Having vertical alignment with the high school. Already, meeting agendas. I think you want to slide. Yeah. Go down. Yeah. I was gonna say, wait a minute. So again, mission literacy across all content areas. Having vertical faculty and department meetings. So again, the high school coming over, the middle school going over to the high school. So we're all on the same page. iReady data, MTSS, RTI, really rolling out that plan to add an extra level of support for students who may be struggling in the building, focusing on vocabulary. That was one of the things that were put in our set when we sent to the state that we said as a building we would work on. Again, the progress monitoring, common form assessment, classroom visits, COPs, and increasing student performance across all content areas. We can go down. All right, so this is the part in really highlighting, wanted to take a snapshot of all grades, but really wanted to focus on sixth grade. So as I mentioned before, we kicked off the no referral September. This was an initiative that I brought from my previous district, but this was an initiative when we talk about being all on the same page. So this was something that was provided, to families, to students, faculty and staff to kick off the month of September. What I can say is that sixth grade had the least amount of referrals. I believe sixth grade ended September with 3 referrals for that whole month, and that, that's a big win and a shift for the middle school. So we're really proud of that. So when we talk about celebration, we're definitely going to be celebrating our sixth grade students. Just another highlight, sixth grade ELA teachers, a 97 completion rate of iReady for reading. Sixth grade teachers again, 96 completion rate for iReady for math. 99% of sixth grade classrooms had word walls up. So again, going back to mission literacy and vertical alignment, and our teachers are doing the work. 99% of sixth grade classroom are student centers with data walls. And we know data walls are very important, not only for students, but also for teachers. It helps inform instruction. It helps do a lot of really great things. Classroom procedures are there, strategies like eraser, and all sixth grade bulletin boards are completed. So you talk about changing the climate and culture of the building. And then again, just another few highlights of students that we are absolutely going to celebrate. Over 300 students at sixth grade orientation, representing more than 200 families. no referrals September led to a 50% reduction in behavioral referrals compared to previous years. A strong start with family engagement, SEL practice, and just looking at the PBIX matrix, respecting others, involve ourselves in learning, show responsibility, ensure safety. So again, as mentioned in the beginning, you know, this is our middle school rise pledge. This is our PBIS matrix that, you know, the students reiterate every morning, and are reminded of. You got caught rising tickets used for daily drawings and monthly prizes, monthly assemblies, going back to the town halls, to highlight our students, perfect attendance, spotlighting students with PBIS support. And then, we have for October, we have a whole SEL calendar that comes from the Office of Climate and Culture that has been shared with the teachers. And then one thing I do want to highlight, we had the Hispanic Heritage Month Unity Cup, which was absolutely amazing, where all the students at the Casino School really physically and go over, and you know, it was more than just a unity cup. It was about culture, it was about community. Our students were well behaved. They all walked over. We had a good time. There were speeches. So if we set the standard, our students rise. In the middle school is shifting and it is changing. So I'm very really proud to to be the principal of the middle school and working alongside my team that's here. Mrs. Green, Ms. Coxon, Ms. Boykins. I have some of my sixth grade teachers. So we're shifting, we're moving, and I'm open to any questions.
Before we start with the questions, I don't want it to feel like the inquisition when we ask the questions. So it is called a working session. So, you know, as you ask your questions, you can have some give and take, clarification, maybe something. Absolutely. Think about. So with that, you're on first.
My question is related to all of the data informed decision making. How are the behavior, attendance, and achievement data disaggregated just by grade, gender, race, students with disabilities, or P&L students, to track where the progress is being made and where the inequities persist? Because you just see the red bar and you think, who does this represent and what's going on?
Thank you for that question. That red bar represented the ELA, the math scores already as it relates to behavior data. We did receive a lot of data over the summer where the administrative team, some of the data was aggregated, broken down, but the administrative team were able to see the data by race, by gender, by classroom, by offense, a bunch of things. And again, mentioning what we did was letters were sent home to families to put students in groups. So if a student, had multiple referrals, we knew, I don't want to use the word heavy hitter, but we knew the student that needed extra level of support. So we have caseworkers in the building. One of our caseworker is Mrs. Smack. She is the like an SEL caseworker, 7 Mindsets caseworker. It's one of our SEL programs. So what she did over the summer was sent out letters to families to introduce herself and let them know that she is here, she's extra level support, and that, the student will be grouped based on, whatever interventions that are needed. So a lot of that work happened over the summer, particularly with that and also attendance. We have an attendance caseworker in our building who did some proactive work over the summer. So what we did was look at the data from last year, and any students who missed a certain amount of days, we sent out letters, one with a attendance success plan, but also with a letter introducing herself and then reminding the family that, last year your child missed maybe 60 something days of school. However, we're moving into the new school year, it's a fresh start. Here's my number. If there's anything you need, let's start off. So that work over the summer really helped shape the new school year.
And does that work continue? So at certain intervals?
So that work is continuing. I talked about COPs, but one of the great thing about this year is aligning everyone and highlighting the supports in which we have in the building. So Miss Green is our assistant principal of climate and culture, so she has her COPs weekly with all the support staff, the social workers, school psychologists, the school counselors, the behavioral specialists, and what they're able to do in those COPs is look at the data. So if there are any students that need another tier of intervention of support, they're highlighted, they're talked about, and then, you know, Ms. Green can report back maybe on a Mindful Monday to teachers about what supports are being provided to those students. You all. Thank you, Principal Atkins. First, I'd like to say, I speak with, my nephew, my nieces are all in Pacific Middle School. And the first week after school, I asked them how to let them in principal. And the first thing said, Mr. Atkins, don't play. Bravo, you're changing the culture there at the middle school, behavior wise. My nephew was in sixth grade last year, and your days were at least, you know, it's rough in his class. And he's saying he's seen a change this year, so Mr. Atkins, don't play. Continue not playing with kids. My question, and also I was at the Unity Cup event, and as a graduate of Poughkeepsie Middle School, graduate of Poughkeepsie High School, that's something I've ever seen in the middle school. We've never been able to really leave school outside unless it's time to go home. So to see the kids there, and it felt like I was at a high school pep rally. They were excited. My nephew was very introverted. I saw him jumping up and down. I've never seen this kid laughing and playing with other kids. So that was a great experience just for me to experience. You should give yourself a round of applause. You don't know how it's happening. I'm thinking about field trips and I'm thinking about things like that. These are the types of things that our youth need to see. These are the type of investments we want to see in the youth, because these are the things that are going to change their minds about homeschool, right? They know they can look up to the Unity Hub, pep rally, something fun at school, they're going to show up for class. So keep doing these things, keep the kids engaged. It is making an impact, and hopefully you'll see in 3 years from now that the numbers from the sixth grade level is going to increase based on the work that you're doing right there in the school district. So you should be proud of yourself, you should be proud of your staff, and you should be really proud of the students over there at Kids in Middle School. I do have a question on the ELA numbers and the math numbers. These also include our PNL students, right? So students who may not be able to read or speak English. Is there a way to sparse, and also our sped students are also included in these numbers. Is there a way to sparse these numbers, like not taking them out of the equation, but showing those numbers along with our other students in the district, just so we can see where our sped students are, where ELL students are, and also where our general population is.
Oh. When you see the final stage reports and go on to the SED, it is all broken down demographically.
Okay.
All right, the SED report art where they use these things, and there's every permutation gets the columns 1, 2, 3, or 4. With down the side, every permutation starting male, female, non-English language learners.
Yeah, I got
The
it.
whole thing. So
I got
am I right? It's thoughts on that part.
So the data that we shared right here is just a brief overview of a large change of our performance. We provide the board with a state accountability data report that goes into further depth and breaks down into subpopulations and the performance across multiple years, and that's gonna be at our November workshop.
Yeah, I'm asking these questions mainly because I don't want parents to be alarmed, right?
Yeah.
I don't want parents to be watching this and think that their kids are not progressing, or, I'm really just trying to figure out a way to make parents feel comfortable, not comfortable, but know that their kids are not like in danger, that's all. It would just be nice for, not to say that this report is, this report is great, I'm just saying that it would be nice for parents to be able to see that kind of stuff, but other than that, you guys are doing great, just keep in mind that this is one way of, capturing a student's progress. I talked about mission literacy and CFAs and what that consists of us, and building level, creating an assessment in which, you know, all the ELA teachers come together, all the social studies teachers, and they create maybe a midterm or a final. And then based on, you know, based on the completion of it, what do we do next? Is there a reteach plan in the classroom? Why did our students get, question 5 wrong? So many of our students got question 5, and they share that out as a team, to get feedback from their colleagues. So just, you know, this is the state test scores, but it's just one piece. There's other ways to progress monitor or to see how students are performing, within the classroom. Thank you. Alvin?
So I just want to key in quickly on some things, because social emotional support with the behavioral issues, because I remember 3 years ago, I went into the middle school, and it was like something out of League on me. It was just, if you know that movie, I was like, the parents' safety, that was your biggest concern, is my child gonna be safe? So there's a lot, the issue is, and especially when I knocked on the doors, when I canvassed for the board position, you know, their main thing was, okay, you have the elementary schools and you have more of a community environment. However, when they get to the middle school, it changes. And this is where the community started taking their children out when they get to the middle school. So the social emotional support, that's important, because we can't teach, or you can't teach if our behavioral problems. You know, the kids so that's important. So that's a great thing for having the small group interventions and knowing the target, you know, when you have certain behaviors, how to address them. So that's very important. I do love all the things, the climate, culture and climate, the highlights. I look at the red zones on the bar chart, but you know what? If we are at the red zone, that means there's room for a green zone, right? So talking on those small integral issues will be able to let us rise to a green. You know, so that's very important. So I just think you're doing good, but the safety for parents is so important. Knowing that you can go to work and that your child is safe at the middle school, and also accountability, you know, holding those children accountable that are not, maybe have some issues because we don't know, and connecting with the home, because that's important too, finding out what's going on. So I just think that it's a good thing, and I look forward to, you know, the numbers moving forward. But you're doing an awesome job.
Thank you.
They always accuse me of being the numbers guy. And so when you start to think about it, come back for the next meeting. I know I-ready is progress. But then you're up against, and there's attendance, which is, you know, if they're not there, they're not going to want it. And then when we look at the testing on proficiency, you know, one of my, ways of looking at it is how are we doing, against the state? And so before we come back, we have embargo data here for the embargo means it's released and we weren't supposed to show it, but we showed it anyway. But we won't have the state data until November. And my only suggestion, maybe if we looked at a mean and median, and it's important to look at ourselves against everyone else. And you're gonna be looking in the rearview mirror. The data you're gonna have is last year's. And I will say, I've been at the middle school. I spent about 10 weeks in the middle school every year, in the basement for 40 years now. So, but the feeling in the cafeteria and everything was just different. You know, so whatever you're doing, we're hitting the goal for that feeling. We're getting the kids out. And now, you know, I'm just hoping that we're gonna see the results transfer to the performance. You know, and because I believe unequivocally, our kids should be doing better. I'll any questions. I mean, I know them, I work with them, they should be doing better. And I can see you feel the same way, you know, and so maybe that we're all on that page. And this time next year, you can see just how better we did. All right, thank you. Cool.
I just wanted to add real quick, if you don't mind, in regards to doing better. open schoolhouse, you know, I was met with the honor society. And, you know, that's amazing. So, yeah, you're right, we are in the red, but let's not forget the students that are doing well. Because I gave them all high fives. So, you know, yeah, we're in the red, there's work to do, but you also have to congratulate the ones that are doing excellent. They had their little honor society shirts on, and they were so proud to be greeting and giving the parents, like you would thought they hit the lottery. So I just wanna say, let's also put our students that are doing well.
I would agree, and lastly, if I could, is, you know, building our students up and giving them the confidence. One of the conversations I'm having with the eighth grade, group in the cafeteria is that we are the best, we will be the best. You can be the smartest in Dutchess County, you know, have the highest test scores, but a lot of our students don't believe it. So again, you know, building up the confidence, I know you mentioned attendance, you know, I put the crisis intervention workers as an emotional support, our security guards as emotional support. One of the positives is, you know, Mr. Muse and, Mr. Gray in the morning time, they, you know, they have, you walk into our gym where it's 6, 7, and 8, and it's amazing. You have kids come to school early because they get to play basketball in the morning before they go to class or play soccer, and that's all happening in one gym. So it, you know, it's changing the climate and the culture of the building, but also building up the teachers as well. With the lack of consistency and leadership within the building, that takes a major impact, you know, on, you know, your teachers. So remaining consistent, being aligned with the high school and, you know, building, the student strengths. All of our students are amazing students and doing well. They just need, you know, that level of confidence, given to them every day. I forgot that, you should, the teachers, you know, there's always gonna be growing pains, and especially like when you've been doing a job for years without support, just sticking with your teachers. You know, the first year is gonna be rough, but and I don't expect you to leave anytime soon. Year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, those teachers who you thought were gonna give you an issue are gonna be the ones who are gonna be most supportive. So they might get on your nerves right now. So stick in with them for a little bit longer.
Any, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I'm gonna ask my colleagues, Mrs. Penn, Dr. Scott, and then Mrs. Baruco to come up so we can present you our intermediate success plan. So again, this is our success plan. And we end with our beautiful intermediate team, who is made up of strong leaders. And the instruction, our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students are in their buildings, and I'm gonna turn it over to my colleague, Mrs. Penn, who will start.
Good morning.
Nope.
Good morning. Oh, good morning. No better. Good evening, Ms. Turner, board members. Thank you so much for having us here this evening. We just want to start with an introduction of Clinical as a building. So again, my name is Nicole Head. I am proud principal of Warden Elementary School. We have a total of 305 students as of October 6th, 2025. Of that 305 students, 26% of our students are students with IEPs, individualized education plans. 24% of those 305 are students that are ENL students. In 3rd grade, we have 3 general ed sections and 1 ICT section. ICT is that co-taught section.
fourth grade, 3 general ed sections, 1 ICT section, fifth grade, 3 general ed sections, and 2 ICT sections. This year, we also welcomed 2 15-1 sections into Warren Elementary, one that is a grade 3, grade 4 blend, and another that is a grade 4, grade 5 blend.
My name is Jessica Bruto. I'm the principal of Smith Elementary in Smith Elementary. We have a total of 241 students this year and rising every day. Our special education population is about 19%. We house our 2 life skills population classes for third through fifth grade, and we also have our staff population there for third through fifth grade. We have 30% ENL students. We have in third grade, we have 2 general education classes and the dual language third grade classroom. We have 3 general education classrooms in fourth and fifth grade. And we also have, like I said, the staff and life skills cohorts are last year.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Scott, I'm the principal of Clinton Elementary School. And in Clinton Elementary School, we house 289 scholars. Our special education population is about 26%. Our ENL population is 17%. We have 4 sections on each of our grade levels. 3 general ed and 1 ICT on the 3rd and 4th grade. In 5th grade, we have 2 ICT sections, 2 general ed and 2 ICT sections. We have 15-1 program, we have 2 15-1 programs, and we continue to have the behavioral section in our school. This year, we added all the ICTs that we have are added this year. And yeah, that's where our school is. Next slide. So what we're going to talk about today as a team is ongoing education and targeted training for educators, data-driven instruction.
We're going to be speaking about our community connections and collaboration with the community. And we're also going to be speaking about strategic planning for individual student growth.
Additionally, we focus on measurable academic growth for each student and student engagement in their individual academic journeys.
So again, you'll see here a similar slide to what we previously just saw in the middle school presentation. This is our starting point and how we try to determine where our students are and what we need to do moving forward. Here you see we'll orientate ourselves to third grade. I won't spend much time on it because we just saw a similar slide, but you can see in third grade, those were our second graders at the end of last year where they performed, and then we'll be taking a look at where they are now in third grade, but you can see our growth goals set at 16%. Shifting those 10% of our students in the yellow to the green with the goal of that being achieved by the middle of the year. And our building principals will talk through all the strategies they have in place to help our students achieve that goal. If we move to the next slide, you see similar slides as you saw previously in the middle school presentation. This is our ELA performance by grade across the district. So the difference here is that we had a reconfiguration this year. We had previously had schools separated out with all students in their buildings, including testing grades. This data represents all of our students across the whole district and not by building. And you can see here in third grade, we have 31% of our third graders achieving, well, I'll say 23% of our students achieving proficiency and 11% is achieving above proficiency, advanced proficiency. And you can, the next slide demonstrates similar proficiency in our math scores. So moving on, we'll go into, now that we know where we are, what are we gonna do?
So as an elementary team, we focus on being data-driven, on data-driven buildings. Our instructional success plan around being data-driven focuses on creating an aligned 3 through 5 culture of data-driven instruction and informing and educating parents on their students' data, enabling them to interpret the provided information and then be able to better support their students. Ways to do that are, we started, as Mr. Atkins has shared, we started this journey in the summer as students reviewed and analyzed the data that we received, opening the school year with building-wide data focused on ELA and math proficiency in order to develop focus standards in both ELA and math. Those focus standards are by grade, and by each individual standard, identifying where students are achieving 65 or better percentages. If they are not, then that's an area of focus. Additionally, gathering, disaggregating, and utilizing that data to plan the instructional small group instructions, having that conversation during our collective preps that have been 2 to 3 times per month. All grade levels have the same, they have common planning time. So we utilize that common planning time to have those collaborative prep sessions and focus on disaggregating that data, analyzing it, and utilizing it then to build out of instruction. ELA and math department meetings, given the new configuration and the departmentalization, we want to ensure that we are meeting with ELA and math teams across the grade levels. So grades 3, 4, and 5 in ELA meet, and then 3, 4, 5 math meet to have conversations around curriculum and standards and where our kiddos are struggling to ensure that we are all using the same language, we are all utilizing the same strategies. So when our kiddos go from 3rd grade to 4th grade, they're hearing the same language and are familiar with the strategies that are being used. Utilizing that data to drive instructional decisions based on standards mastery, which is the assessment that is given around each individual standard in ELA. We are able to identify, it's a 6-question assessment. It should take our students 15 minutes to have that assessment, but it gives us hard, fast data to have conversations around ELA to say, is it the questioning? Is it vocabulary? Where are our kiddos falling apart? And then likewise in math, having that conversation around the comprehension checks that are also focused on individual standards. Parent data breakfasts happen multiple times throughout the year. Those parent data breakfasts are just that, having the conversations with parents. We understand what a level M is. We understand where kiddos should be at the end of the year, but giving parents the tools to understand what that means for their children, and then having them partner with us so that they can best support the students that we serve. Lastly, the Ready provides family letters, both in ELA and math, and sharing that correspondence with our families so that they are understanding what is to come in the upcoming units, what lessons teachers are focusing on, and again, how they can support their students when they're home. How we progress, monitor, is by continuing to come back to that data. We've ensured that all of our collaborative prep meetings are focused around ELA data, math data, analyzing those standards mastering comprehension checks, and then how we're going to infuse them into our small group instruction so that we have laser-like focus on targeting our students' individual needs.
So in the areas of reading and mathematics, our targets are to have a yearly achievement of at least 10% growth in the New York State assessment data. That means we want 10% in each proficiency level to grow. We want to create global citizens on the education and civic obligations. We want to create a whole child who can be informed and learn things when they need it from. We want all students to achieve proficiency. That's our overarching goal in our New York State assessments. And we also want students to progress through the grade levels and achieve that proficiency in that grade level curricula each year. The tools and strategies we're using in those core areas are the Ready curriculum, both Ready and iReady, for ELA and math. For assessments, we also utilize that, and we have the toolkit that has strategies and resources utilized by our teachers when needed. Daily, small group lessons focused on the student's specific needs are built into each elementary intermediate schedule for both ELA and mathematics daily. Academic intervention services, AIS, provided in ELA and math. We're doing a real focus on push-in models during the small group instruction where available. And we also provide collaborative preps and grade level meetings to provide that professional growth and the data for our teachers. And there's also ELA and math department meetings focused on analyzing those student outcomes and what those focus standards tell us. And also what the DOI, NOI, and EOI told us in Ready. We've also developed strategies for comprehension, writing, problem solving, and we've also designed some intervention and enrichment lessons where appropriate. There's also honor roll and high honor roll ceremonies that we are also utilizing to reward those people who are really going above and beyond. The progress monitoring that we're utilizing for the reading mathematics is formative assessments in the Ready curriculum, the iReady Unit assessments that we have, as well as the standards mastery that Ms. Penn was speaking about and the comprehension checks. We also have the progress checks and assessments within each unit that are embedded. The foundations lesson assessments give us a lot of information about those foundational skills that some students in third grade and maybe even AIS are looking on. And we also have the MTSS, excuse me, intervention results reviewed. We work heavily with our MTSS intervention team to create a plan for those students to succeed if we have some interventions that will help.
Sorry, I'm going to interject here.
Okay.
Honor rolls. It's one of those things in education that goes in vote, out of vote, in vote, out of vote. And when I saw it start to come through, I guess as a former parent who had a crying child who didn't get into the advanced class in third grade. And, I can see both sides of the argument. And so what's our measurement tool to see which of these things are really working, as opposed to just throwing everything out there at once, which you may not have enough time in the day to do all of them at once.
So to begin with, in addition to honor and high honor roll, our students will achieve 80 to 90, high honor roll are 90 to 100 based on grade level standards. In addition to those standards, we also have achievement awards, right? So kiddos who may not achieve 80 or 90, who are working their heinies off in class, who may have increased in homework or improved attendance, or worked on completing all of their iReady, or worked on raising their grade level. So instead of being at level L, perhaps they've grown to a level O, right? That's growth for some of our kiddos. And so we do reward them with that achievement certificate as well.
I hear you, but I'm just, cautious. Is that a good word to say? That the overall effect, because you're educators, you know both sides of the argument. And, and so that's all.
Educators and parents,
Yeah.
right? And so in addition, when our students are working hard, we do want to make sure that we acknowledge our students that work hard. We want to make sure that we are allowing everybody to participate. So in addition to honor roll, high honor roll, and achievement, we also have perfect attendance awards, right? Those can also receive ribbons. They are in the same ceremonies. Parents show up with flowers and balloons, and they are dressed to the nines for all of these ceremony, for the ceremony that celebrates all of our students in that capacity.
in addition to that, we have PBIS, we have character traits, so people are acknowledged, children are acknowledged for showing good character as well. And everybody can get a character award, it's as many as we can get a character award, so there are different things for them. We do still want to make sure that we're setting a goal and rewarding high achievement, because that's something that needs to be embedded in the children, that high achievement is something that we want them to accomplish, but we're not skipping up on anything else.
I think that was an absolute wonderful answer, because if we never have a standard, we never have anything to achieve. So, yeah, maybe some children can't make the 90, but if they're looking up at that 90, one day they may get there, just by seeing that it's attainable. So, at this point, the urgency is now for us to set the standard. And I think that was an excellent answer from Ms. Penn and Dr. Scott. Excellent. We have to set the standard, and the time is now to do it, because we want to get out of the red into the green. So these little increments, it makes your expectations higher. And as a parent, I'm the same way. I want my expectations high for my child because I want them to succeed. When they get out here in the world, the expectation from your boss is to succeed and to try to do what you need to do that's attainable. So.
We have the same expectations for our students in school that we have for our students at home. When we sit around the dinner table, we don't speak about, their failures. We speak about how hard they work and the attempts that they made and the success in the games that they had. We have that same conversation with our kiddos in school because they're our students, they're ours.
And just to reiterate, walking around the school, I saw a 70 on one of Dr. Scott's school, and I also saw 90. Just that child that got the 70 sees their score on that's amazing. It's up there, it's knowledge that, what, maybe next time I can get an 80. But I saw that, which is amazing.
So, okay, so we want to go into elementary attendance and SEL. So our attendance, we understand that it is critical for us to have students in the classroom. They're not in the classroom, they cannot learn. So we had an issue with chronic absenteeism, which for anyone that doesn't know what that is, that's 10% or more absent out of the year. So our school year is 182 days. If you're absent 19 days out of the entire school year, you're chronically absent. So we're looking to ensure that we're doing things to lessen that. And we're looking at what's not on here is everybody being there. So we have celebrations for teachers, for students, for whoever is making sure they're coming to work or school. We're working with them. So we're looking to eliminate chronic absenteeism. So we want no one to miss more than 10% in the school year. There's a trickle down or trickle up effect in this. So if they're in school and we develop the practice now, when they get to the middle school and the high school, coming to school is just a normal thing. When they graduate, they go to work. Being to work on time is something that they just do. So at our level, we're teaching more than just ELA and math. We're teaching how to be good constructive citizens. So we also align social and emotional learning activities and opportunities across the buildings. We realize that we're a very transient population. We work very closely together. If there's something going on, we get on the phone and talk with each other about the plans that we're going to do. So we also want to improve behavior in non-classroom spaces. Usually that's where we have any issues, recess, gym, things of that nature. We want to instill in children that doing the right thing is doing it when no one's watching. And that all should reduce suspension. So what are some of the things that we do? Some of the strategies we have: daily morning meetings, we have student check-ins, we have attendance boards, perfect attendance wards, weekly wards. We have various alternatives to suspension. We have clubs, we have in-school suspension, recess, detention, things of that nature. So we're trying to keep them in the building. As long as the child is not doing something violent, we're trying to keep them in the building. So you may miss recess. You may not get to go to the gym, but you're going to ELA, right? So we have to focus on doing things very differently. My brother's keeper mentorship program in the buildings. We use Panorama, is utilized for MTSS. Panorama is a great tool because it gives you ideas and thoughts and how to do things. And we can't always have the idea, but there's a whole system full of various things that you can do. We all have weekly crisis team meetings where we discuss what's going on in the building, any crisis that may be coming up, any mental health concerns, domestic needs, anything like that. We discuss those in those crisis team meetings. And then we have school-based, like PBS, book machines, golden tickets, Cougar Bucks, whatever, that we use for different things. So how are we gonna progress monitor that? We have builder-specific surveys, our DTSD survey, PTA, PTO meetings. So that's, anybody listening, please join the school PTA. Please join school PTA. So those things are opportunities for us to sit with the parents and they can tell us what's going on. What are the children feeling? So it gives us the opportunity to know what's going on. 7 mindsets is a system that we have in the building. There's completions. So there's like celebration for the 7 mindsets, completions throughout the year.
I just want to highlight and publicly ask for your support. Our My Brother's Keeper program, as well as our Sister to Sister programs, upper level students, our high school students who mentor and work with our elementary students who we find transportation for them to come over. Transportation works hand in hand with us so that we don't have to find funds in order to make that happen. But these are our high school students who are exemplary students. These are our scholars. These are our athletes. These students were speakers at our graduation, right? These students are tutoring our young men and young ladies. We want to be able to keep that going. So we're asking for your support in having that happen so that perhaps you might put some strength behind this mentorship so that it's more than just what we're doing in the buildings, but it's our upper level students and our seniors and our upperclassmen who are role models for our kiddos.
Absolutely. Next slide. So elementary parent engagement. So we just did a major reconfiguration. So we started in the summer with our elementary parent engagement. So we as a team got together and we decided that it would be a good idea for us to speak to the parents before school started. So we went into the community. We didn't want to have them have to come to us. We went to them. So we had what was called, I think we call it pastries. Coffee and conversation. That's what we call it. Coffee and conversations with the principal. So we set up opportunities to go to various spots. So we went to Tubman, we went to Beulah, and we went to Christchurch. And we invited parents to come in and speak to us. So it was us initially, and then we brought in the pre-K2 principals as well. So the 5 of us got together and we met the parents in these venues. And we told them what we were doing, who we were, what school they would be in, who the teacher would be, and answered any questions that they might have. A lot of people had a lot of nervousness, so we felt that this might be a way to kind of alleviate some of that concern. Also put the names in place, it gets a bit different. Then we went into our summertime, we had our welcome orientations, block parties essentially, and had people come over. We talked to them as much as we could. Some of us were able to show them the building. I unfortunately was not, our building was still under construction up until like the day before school. So, but we did have, cookout, stop, have conversations, book bag giveaways. We did all sorts of stuff like that in all of our buildings to get prepared for the year to start. Then we went into the things that we have here. So one of the things that we believe firmly is in parent engagement. The more we get the parents and the community engaged, the better we'll be. Right, so some of the things that we're doing around that, it's freezing in here. Some of the things we're doing around that is Parent Data Breakfast. Parent Data Breakfast is designed to give parents their own individual child's data, and we have a conversation with them. So it's a heart-to-heart, honest conversation around your child, that your child is here, we need them here, here's what we're gonna do, what do we need you to do, right? Honest conversation. Parent university, we do parent university, that happens every month, touching upon various topics, from accountability to fun things like Wonderland to other important things that can help parents like financial literacy, health and wellness, things of that nature, trying to engage the parents in any way we can. Again, annual ceremonies, things of that nature, family-oriented celebrations, dances, PTA meetings. All of these things have translation services. As you've seen earlier, our ELNL population is really growing, so we want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable when they come. And we're partnering a lot with various community liaisons, be it the churches that are nearby or some of the other organizations that are nearby. Those are more specific to the building because you work with the people that are right next to you. But like, for example, the Perry University, those things are catered, right? We work with local businesses to get them into the community. So we're not catering from somebody from somewhere outside, but working with someone that might have a store right on Main Street. So now we're collaborating with the community, getting them involved. So how we're gonna progress monitor that again, parent surveys, anecdotal conversation with parents, seeing student attendance rise, and community and parent attendance during these events. So the more people we have there, more conversations we can have, the better we'll be able to serve, which is what we're here for. We're here to serve. So we're servants to our community. That being said, we are open for any questions that you.
Before we go to questions, I just wanna, kind of put a bow on the presentations that we've done. Our mission for our district says that we're champions, that we support high quality experiences and education for our students so that we can place pathways of success for them. Right, and I hope through the presentations in September and tonight that you see the through lines of our leaders who exemplify champions for our students, of our teachers who are out there doing the work, making that mission not something that just sits on our presentations or on our website, but is actually how we live and breathe and benefit and servitude of our students and families. So I hope that that's what you saw, because all of the amazing things they are doing is just speaks to that mission statement. So now we'll open up for questions.
I think it's amazing because, once again, the community, had a distrust for the district and bridging the gap with the community is amazing. Talking to them, just getting to know what they think and, you know, things about being a part of their children's education. That's great. That's a great way to bridge the gap. Okay, just connecting with the community, local businesses. I just want to add one little thing is, you know, as the building managers begin to implement the things, implement the programs for their buildings, just recognition for them. Because they need to know that they're doing a good job, you know, at a really big count. So just letting them know that they're doing, it took time for this slide to be put together. And it's just amazing what they're doing. They continue to set the bar for the children in the elementary. And I walked the building and Scott's building, I wanted to lay down because it was so homely. Back to the bed right here. And Miss Penn was just always multitasking like I met her all those years or so, just moving. So, you know, nothing has changed. So recognition, we have to give them their credit and what's due.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just had a question about the category of global citizens. How are we measuring students' performance as it relates to being a global citizen? What does that mean?
I think as a building leader, to me, that means giving students as much access to the community around them as well as the world community as possible, and giving them as many perspectives as possible through their education and the things that they have access to. So, I think that social media plays a large role in our students' lives today and everyone's lives. And I think that we have the power to empower them to find the sources and the resources they can to be those global citizens. So showing them the power that they can have and where they can get that educated power.
On the heels of that, last year we initiated our, it was warring students on college bound, right? So that we are focusing on not only the students that are in front of us today, but the students that we are developing tomorrow and the days to follow. And so each of our grade levels in 3, 4, 5 identified 2 colleges which they visited. They had tours, they met with the staff, they ate cafeterias, right? Visited dorm rooms. So that and the goal is for our students to see themselves in these dorm rooms, to speak with the college students. We were lucky enough in a couple of those situations to have students that were actually Pixie graduates come out and meet our kiddos. There were some of our buildings that had the dean of colleges come out and address our students. So when our students see themselves in these environments, it feeds the greater good. It feeds their desire to want more than what they see every day, right? And take them outside of the lines and the confines of their current situation.
And I would also say that once we get like things kind of settled in terms of being new schools and things of that nature, we want to look into student government as well. So having the young kids be able to understand how government works, how civics works, like, I mean, that's one of the things that's missing now from our country as a whole, but don't let it go there. But we want them to be able to understand how they can be global citizens by understanding civics as well.
And I'm just gonna chime in that the state has created the pathways for, and the portrait of a graduate. And we are in the process of engaging and creating the seal of civic readiness that does have a rubric that we can then take a look at and see how that would down to the elementary level. But because the state is just rolling it out, we're just kind of learning alongside them, but we are looking at those different measures in that way.
If I could add one other thing, I heard a presentation earlier, we talked about trips. And I think that that's one of the things that's critically important to be able to get our scholars to see different things. Last year, we took our scholars to go to DC to the African American National History Museum, and to see their eyes like open up why it was possible. I mean, honestly, some of the parents that were chaperoning were doing this here. So I think that that's another thing that we have to do. We have to get them out of this 4 square miles so they can see that there's a globe to be a citizen of.
I appreciate the presentation. So I'm old enough to have attended Charles B. Warren Academy, Magnet Academy for Science and Technology, right? And that was the name of when I went there. And that's where I became a global citizen. That's where I learned about civics. That's where I learned about voting. That's where I learned about pretty much anything I know about to be a global citizen, to be a productive citizen in the city of Poughkeepsie. All that started in elementary school with Linda Melton as my principal, Aunt Carolyn Jones. Those 2 Black women made sure that every child in that school knew about voting. Every child knew about what was going on in the community. We met our mayor every election. The mayors come to the school to speak with us. That's where I honed in on being a good citizen, was in elementary school. So I'm happy that you guys did mention that. I have been canvassing for the upcoming election, and a lot of times I'm running into people fresh out of high school who don't know what's going on in the community, who don't know who to vote for, who don't know parties, don't know what is up for, who's up for election, don't know anything. I appreciate the focus on creating local citizens. I think that if we invest more in our youth at elementary school level and teaching them the importance of knowing who their legislator is, knowing who they can call when there's an issue in their community, not just in the schools, knowing who they can call, not just the police, but the mayor, and what the mayor does, what your legislator does, what the Senate does. These are things that will translate positively later on in their life, and when they become adults, we'll have increased voter engagement in the city, which is a big thing for me. I am a big, if anyone sees me, I get very emotional about voting, because it's super important that communities of color, and communities that have been ravaged by poverty, use their right to vote to help change the community. I don't think we do that often, especially in the city of Poughkeepsie. We are many times overlooked throughout this entire county because our voting power is not being used. So I think we should continue focusing on that. Mrs. Penn, I did want to mention the My Brother's Keeper mentorship program. I did come to the Warren Elementary this year. Actually, not last year. Last year, yeah. And I saw the high school, if you're teaching these young men how to tie ties, like something as simple as tying a tie. Some of these young boys don't have dads at home, or they may have dads at home who don't know how to tie a tie themselves. So just seeing that reminded me of my grandfather and my uncles teaching me how to tie a tie. It just brought me back to those days of learning things as a young child that translate into my adulthood. I know how to tie a tie because someone spent time teaching how to do it. And I think if we spend time teaching our youth skills that are going to translate into adulthood, start young. Don't wait until high school. Let's not wait until middle school. Let's not wait until college. Let's start elementary school so that this stuff is easy for them. They'll be eager. I was happy to vote for Obama in the first election. I was happy to register to vote. I was happy to go over to Morgan School to go vote for the first time. I think if we engage students at a young age, that'll translate later on in life. I'll leave it there, because I know Bob wants to get us out of here, okay?
And I appreciate that, and I also appreciate Principal Simpson. Dr. Simpson allows her young men to come over to Warren during the school day, right? Dr. Simpson allows her staff to come over to chaperone our students. They come over every other week. So it's an ongoing partnership, and we've outlined a schedule of events. So I definitely appreciate that support, and again, I ask for continued support of all of those initiatives to get our students to come over so that our elders bring up our youngers, because we have models right here in our community.
And that collaboration across schools is important. I was happy to hear Mr. Atkins say he has a close relationship with Dr. Simpson, and I'm happy to see you guys seem like you have a really good working relationship. I think that relationship between the building principals needs to remain strong so that the leadership, I always say that, I said last time, the fish stinks from the head to the tail, right? As long as the head is good, the rest of the fish is gonna smell fine. So you guys, even if you guys create your own, community of, support for yourselves so that it translates to your teachers, it translates to your students. You may not always get support here, right? But if you guys support each other and you have support from the community, no matter what happens here, the students will succeed. So I appreciate the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Feel compelled to say something. So, and you've never heard me say we don't have the ingredients to success. And that means all our staff members, all the building, I see this is just a complication of the ingredients we're going to put in the pot to make this award-winning dish. And, and you brought all the ingredients you had. Our real challenge, I could make an analogy to, we're gonna go into daylight savings time. It's gonna be that big period of the, we have this enthusiasm. I just hope we can think of something that can eat, to get through that next wave, that long winter, because the kids, you see it in the kids, they have different cycles. And we just have to do that. And also we have to work on our communication skills. All right, sometimes we take too long, you take too long. You have to have that sense of urgency. We have to have the sense of urgency. That's really think about what's the three things you remember. One of it. The spiel is if you could bring back Bill Clinton. What three things do you want me to take home from this presentation? Because I only can remember the average person, if they remember three, they're way ahead of the game. You know, we remember three, and we really back to that. I love the urgency. That's one I can remember. And all the other, when we do these for fall, one of those three things you just want me to know you're going to your bill. All right, and that would be, that's a suggestion. But if you look at any of the politicians, marketing, that's how they do it, and it can pick up on that. And the only other thing I'll throw in there, because we're talking a little about voting and literacy and civil. I'll just throw this out there. Media literacy at this age, we're just ignoring completely. You know, you just don't even think about it. But that's the world our kids are gonna grow up in. And we should be even starting at this level to start to think about media literacy, how we do this, make decisions. That was me going too far from what we did. So with that, thank you for all the time you put in and staying late with us. And we're on to our next presentation.
Good evening. I wish you would have gone first because you had that amazing information about schools. And now we have spec compliance updates. Good evening again, members of the Board of Education, and to our school community, and to Ms. Turner and Mr. Mott's absence. Thank you for the opportunity to share key updates regarding our district's special education compliance and improvement efforts. Our focus remains on transparency, accountability, and ensuring better outcomes for our students with exceptional. Our mission to nurture the whole child aligns closely with our commitment to special education compliance. Meeting federal and state regulations ensures we provide quality, personalized learning opportunities that help students with exceptionalities succeed. Okay. Our district is actively working to address areas identified by the state where we need to improve compliance, special education laws and guidelines. We are partnering closely with the Special Education Quality Assurance, which we call CEQA, which monitors how well districts follow state and federal special education rules. In addition, we are collaborating with the Regional Partnership Center, which we call RPC, a state-supported organization that provides training, coaching, and support to help school districts improve their special education programs and services. Tonight, we will share an update on the progress we have made in responding to the state's review of our special education programs, including how we conduct evaluations and handle discipline for students with exceptionalities. The state monitors our special education programs in multiple ways, including through state reporting as shown on this slide. As part of this process, our district submits data to demonstrate compliance with special education standards. One key area, indicator 11, focuses on child find, which is a federal requirement ensuring that schools identify, locate, and evaluate all children who may have disabilities and need special education services. This helps ensure that every student with an exceptionality receives the support they need as early as possible. During the state's review, it was found that some meeting dates and outcomes were missing from student records. We discovered that our student record system, IEP Direct, was not always updated as students transitioned from the Committee on Preschool Special Education, referred to as CPSD, which serves children ages 3 to 5, to the Committee on Special Education, we call CSD, which serves students ages 5 and up. These transitions require careful updating of records to ensure continuity of support. To address this, we have begun monthly data review meetings and plan to leverage the embedded data dashboard within IEP Direct to regularly monitor accuracy. We are also preparing to train our staff on effectively using the dashboard to improve data quality. All necessary corrections were completed by the state deadline of September 12, 2025. Another important focus is indicator 13, which relates to secondary transition services. This area ensures that students with exceptionalities receive the support they need as they plan for life after high school. For this indicator, we submitted 30 student records before the October 3rd deadline, demonstrating our commitment to supporting students in their transitions. The documents included updated IEPs, transition assessments, CSE meeting notes, meeting invitations, and prior written notices. A prior written notice is a letter given to families whenever there's a change or decision about a student's special education services. It helps keep parents and guardians informed and involved. The state will provide an update once their final review of indicator 13 is complete.
Can I ask the clarification on that? Is that we had us submit a sampling of 30, or we only had 30? I would guess it was a sampling of 30.
No, sir, we had to submit 30.
But-
And the 30
but-
was a representation of our students and grades.
Okay, then it's not everyone who was this. We had to show a sample. Of
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
That's what I was asking.
I apologize.
All
Yes,
right.
sir. During the 2024-25 school year, the state conducted 2 reviews of our district's special education programs and suspension practices, identifying areas of non-compliance in both. As a result, the state developed a compliance assurance plan, which we will refer to CAP moving forward, to address these issues. One CAP focuses on suspension compliance, a matter that has been identified as non-compliant since June 2023. This plan addresses specific procedures, particularly for students on extended suspensions. It ensures students with exceptionalities to continue to receive services during these suspensions, also ensuring accurate and thorough documentation and providing staff training. The other CAP centers on alternative instruction for students suspended for fewer than 10 days, ensuring they continue to receive appropriate educational services during their absence. Both CAPs have a deadline of November 21st, 2025. We are actively working with CEQA to update policies, provide professional learning for staff, and closely monitor progress. The state will continue to oversee our efforts until all concerns are fully resolved.
Which of those? I understand these are law reports, but which of those do you think are you gonna see the next steps? If you had to prioritize the next 3 steps.
I'm sorry, sir.
Which is mission critical that it happens?
All of them, sir.
All of them?
All of them. These are compliance matters that have to be resolved by a state given deadlines. I'm going to share with you in this next slide right here what happens if we are not prioritizing it. It's a heavier citation for the school district. Due to ongoing non-compliance related to the suspension review mentioned on the previous slide, the district received a more serious citation from the state known as an apron. The apron was issued because the district did not fully resolve the corrective action plans outlined in the CAP resulting from the 2022 to 2023 suspension compliance review issued on June 27, 2023. The state determined that some documentation verifying those corrective action plans were incomplete. As part of the apron requirements, the district developed and submitted an internal consequence plan in collaboration with our school leadership team, which has been reviewed and approved by the state. One key component of this plan is a weekly meeting with the Special Education Quality Assurance, or SEQA, to review progress, provide required documentation, and ensure that all corrective actions are implemented effectively. This ongoing collaboration supports our efforts to strengthen procedures and maintain full compliance moving forward. The apron has a state-imposed deadline of December 1st, 2025. In addition, the district is addressing a parent complaint in collaboration with CEQA and the parent to resolve findings related to missed extended school year. That is the summer program for our students with disabilities, and updates needed in the student's IEP. The district has provided compensatory services, submitted all required documentation, and implemented corrective actions, including updated CSE recommendations and parent counseling. All documentation related to this matter was submitted to the state for review by October 10th, 2025 as the state given deadline. Both matters continue to be closely monitored to ensure full resolution with the established timelines. In response to the non-compliance issues previously discussed, we are engaged in a required partnership with RPC to launch a district-wide support plan for the 2025-2026 school year. This plan will focus support at Truth and Krieger Elementary Schools, Poughkeepsie Middle School, and Poughkeepsie High School. Priority areas include improving reading outcomes, enhancing the quality of IEPs, reducing suspensions, promoting culturally responsive practices, and strengthening family engagement. The RPC will provide coaching, training, and leadership development to help our staff successfully implement these strategies. As a state support organization, the RPC plays a key role in providing training, coaching, and technical assistance to help districts build capacity and strengthen special education systems. We are working diligently to identify and address gaps in our current practices, refine our systems and procedures, and build the capacity of our staff and stakeholders to sustain meaningful, lasting improvements that support every learner's success. Recognizing the seriousness of the situation, we understand that continued non-compliance could lead to increased penalties and further state intervention. Addressing these challenges requires an all-hands-on-deck approach with coordinated efforts across departments. Our current primary focus is ensuring that students with exceptionalities receive appropriate instruction and support during suspensions with accurate and thorough documentation. This effort is led by the Office of Students with Exceptionalities Leadership Team in partnership with our school leaders and staff across general and special education. I'm happy to share that our school leaders participated in training this summer on suspension practices for students with exceptionalities and will join us again October 22nd for additional training. I want to reiterate that was a requirement from the state for all school building leaders. Principals and assistant principals had to attend training this summer and in September, and we've met that expectation. The October 22nd session, another mandatory participation for the school district, will include central office administration and other key stakeholders to further strengthen our collective efforts. Additionally, we are collaborating closely with the RBC for ongoing guidance and training. The challenge we face is primarily one of execution and staffing capacity. At this stage, we anticipate that any additional costs required to achieve full compliance would be minimal and manageable within existing resources. Should that situation change, we will provide an update, including relevant rationale and supporting data. Thank you for your support as we work together to provide equitable, inclusive, and high-quality services for all students with exceptionalities. Our goal is continuous improvement with transparency and collaboration. We welcome your questions, feedback, and ideas.
In regards to the quality assurance, you said that you guys corrected the records that were missing in the IEP.
So let me clarify. So the first slide that referenced non-compliance was a state report called Indicator 11 for child fine.
Okay,
It was based upon a report submitted from the last year, and in September, our office was notified. We had a short window of time, but in partnership with Ms. Gilmore and our team, we were able to work with other stakeholders in the school district and met the deadline for September 12th. So it's been submitted and rectified.
oh, okay. Child fine, so I know that it measures how well the district identified and evaluate students, that's correct.
Yes, ma'am.
And then, the secondary transition is measuring how well the district is. So that's a big goal.
So we don't have, I'm happy to say we do not have a citation for indicator, for the second one. That was just an update of some of the work that we have along the compliance, but because we were presenting on indicator 11, I just added that as another piece to let you know we've met another deadline, but it's not non-compliant.
Because we have a huge amount of students with exceptionality. So how regular are the IEP meetings? Like in regards to the parents, and are they yearly or I'm just trying to get an understanding.
So minimally, once a student meets the criteria from New York State and they have what we call an initial eligibility meeting and they are found eligible for services, minimally, they are entitled to one meeting, which we call an annual review meeting. And during that time, the Committee on Special Education or the Committee on Preschool Special Education reviews the students' progress toward their annual goals. At that time, a recommendation based upon committee input is made for the next school year.
Any questions on that?
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for your presentation.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it kind of looks like. I don't know what to say. It kind of looks like you. That kind of looks like you were handed a mess, to be honest with you. This looks like someone took a crap on your front door and lit it on fire, and you're here to clean it up. And I just don't understand this. I don't understand how we got here, and why. I'll just leave it there. It seems as if you have a hard job ahead of you. It seems as if you are starting behind the 8 ball a little bit, and it kind of feels as if you're working with your hands tied. And I'll just leave it there. I'm not comfortable. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this, it won't be nice, all right? My observation was, I sat here for 2 hours. And 26% of our students weren't even mentioned in the presentation, other than how many teachers they had in the building. And when I looked at each individual school, there's 26% of the students that I didn't hear how we're gonna help, that who have specific needs, different tactics. And I didn't see an overabundance of things in those plans addressing those students who were housed in those buildings. And with that said, in the old days, they would deliver the 3081. I didn't know the name of the printer that produced them. Reports that we have to sign off on their federal law. When I look at those documents, they're the same sort of formatting, putting in that I saw 20 years ago. And I'm just trying to, and I understand all that, but we just have to shake this up. All right, and get this under control and help these students. All right, and with that said, you, you know, we just have to do it. And I think we need a little more help at every level and every touch of these students. And then maybe I'm wrong, and maybe they're getting top shelf with everything. But I'm really disturbed by this report.
I'm disturbed too, but I'm disturbed mainly because it seems as, I'm looking at this last leadership page, right? Leadership and oversight. We have a fourth coordinator position in progress, right?
Yes, sir.
So are we hiring for that position? Is that?
So we've been actively interviewing since. For the fourth coordinator, we've been actively interviewing since the summer when it was approved.
Okay, and then, yeah, I guess my question is, what do you need? What do you need for it to be successful? Like, because clearly what can we give you, your office, to be successful so that it translates to this population of students? 26% of our population of students are SPED. What can we do as a board? Because these, I mean, I don't know, I'm actually really pissed off a little bit.
Well, I appreciate the question. I wanted to say in response to a couple, if I may. I think the initial need, and I will say, is I appreciate recognizing the challenges that we're facing right now, because we're tasked with the day-to-day operations of supporting the special education program, which we're passionate about. And that in itself is, every day creates an opportunity for us to support our most vulnerable student population. But what impacts that is that we have heavy deadlines for this compliance. And what we've tried to capture is that we're meeting regularly with and meeting in support of our RPC, but upon the start of the school year, we had deadlines for these compliance in August.
And it's just you four, you don't have an executive director, she's not the executive, she's the assistant superintendent. So what happened, there was an executive director in that role, and now there's not an executive director in that role. So my question is, if there's not an executive director, then we're expecting Dr. Palmer to do all this work with 3 other people in the office, on top of student engagement, student support services. How can we expect this department to run successfully and also be successful, and also provide services to our youth, to our young people to be successful if they're doing it with their hands tied? I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand why she doesn't, well, I don't understand why there's not an executive director. And I don't mean to be, loud and boisterous a little bit, but I'm pissed. And I don't understand why there's not an executive director or a push for that position before, and no offense to you, Mrs. Syracuse, before we hire someone for HR. Why in the hell don't we have someone over an executive director of special education, but we're worried about a supervisor for transportation, an assistant superintendent for HR? These positions could have waited until we handled this, especially with these compliance issues in front of us. And I don't mean, Dr. Turner, I mean, Ms. Turner, you can't answer these questions. These questions should be directed directly to Mr. Ma, who's not here. And I hope he's listening, and I hope we can get answers for this, because I am upset.
So I just wanted to chime just a little bit. Thank you for that, Dr. Palmer.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say that, and board members just let me know that, so you have students with exceptionalities, and then you also have community schools. So my analogy is like, and I said this is Dr. Mott, 2 highways, 2 major highways at rush hour. It's just busy. So what I agree, there needs to be a little more support for the student with exceptionality because of the deadline, because of the various needs that the students have. And I agree with Bob, 26%, that's a lot. That's a lot within the district. So, my proposal is just for help. She needs, if I see where you're trying to grasp it, but help is needed. It's definitely needed. Like I said, community engagement, the Office of Students with Exceptionalities, 2 major highways at rush hour, they're both gone. You need that support on this side. It should not be combined. It should be someone with support on that side, and on, the other side of student engagement, another support. These are 2 separate entities. They shouldn't be merged together. That's just my opinion. Because when you're focusing on our most vulnerable students, which is the students with exceptionalities, my son had, or had an IEP. That is a lot of work, a lot of compliance, a lot of data. Okay, so, yeah, we definitely need to do, I don't know what we're gonna do, but we need to get some help in that department.
I just have a more. Are we ready for my question? Okay. I just have a more specific question I have two questions. What specific de-escalation training are staff members receiving so that suspension is something that has to be a trigger for students with exceptionalities? And then, just in your opinion, what do you think have been the root causes of these recurrent compliance issues? So after the partnership with the RPC goes away, how do you prevent these issues from happening again? Let's start on.
So a couple of things, we, in the past, the district had, trainers for TCIS. It's a de-escalation strategy, and so I'm looking to revisit that because the past practice was we had internal staff members who were trained. And so I'm looking to leverage that, but again, we, shifted focus a bit because we were prioritizing these compliance matters. And, wanting to build the capacity of multiple staff members. I'm looking to revisit the TCIS, but in addition to that, we partnered with Ms. Turner's department, the instructional team, for professional learning. And it's important to me that we build our capacity of our classroom staff members. We've partnered a lot with our building leaders as well. I mentioned that earlier. And just having a thorough understanding of the resources in our school districts. The presentations that were issued this evening spoke to a lot of platforms that lives in another office in my division. Spoke about our SEL platforms, and so part of our key performance indicators is to develop robust systems that leverage our SELs. And you'll find that in our MTSS plans as we're developing them, as well as our PBIS plans. So these are the resources that we're going to use to support our students' general education and special education. But at this point, we're in, I know the urgency of now, but the reality is that there are resources here, but across our school district, the capacity has to come into alignment. So that's how I'm trying to make certain that the staff members in front of the children, right? It's important that I build the capacity of the classroom teachers and their support staff so that we don't have to leverage our crisis intervention workers or our social workers or our school sites or security every time the student has an SEL challenge.
Where are we at with Dr. Palmer, where are we at?
So I'm happy to say we had an informational meeting this afternoon from 2 to 4, and because we have a shortened window, a very ambitious window, the team and I have been intentional with trying to make certain that we meet this timeline. So to be proactive, we made outreach to applicants from last school year. And we sent information with email followed by a telephone call. And we're happy to say we had about 8 participants this afternoon, and they were really, really excited about the potential to partner. They had a number of questions, and we gave them a deadline for tomorrow to provide additional questions for us, which will be posted. Our responses will be posted on the website Friday afternoon. So we are up and running to meet our target.
Thank you.
Thank you for your truth and just putting it out there, because you don't waste any time. And rightly or wrongly, that's the type of conversations that are working sessions in my mind. It's not that we're gonna come up with the Eureka and wave the magic wand and go away. But, as a board, there's some of the burden that we should share together and look at some of the prioritizations we make and make sure we're prioritizing everything correctly. And this presentation really helped me personally look at prioritization of efforts All right, that's all about all I could say. Thank you for staying late. You know, and, with that said, you know, try and get us all out of here a little while.
Thank you for your time this evening, if you will be back.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. We're on. Oh, it's contagious. All right, we're moving on with the special meeting. The first is resolution 7.1, authorize the funding of the reserves account. Resolution 26-1 for item. Do I have a motion?
Is your first motion?
First one. First, do we have a second? Right, one second. All in favor?
Aye. Any discussion?
Any discussion? We brought it on to the agenda. I skipped that. Any discussion on the authorization for the reserve account? Hearing none,
Motion.
motion carries. Oh. Reserve account, the date is the data, 7.2. So, I jumped ahead. They read, right? 7.2, resolution to approve the funding of a reserved account, resolution 26-141. So move. I hear a second. Second. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, can I have a motion to approve?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Motion passed.
Motion passed. Okay. 7.3, resolution to accept the financial statement and supplementary information with independent auditors report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025, resolution 26.14. I hear a motion. So moved. Second. Discussion.
I do. I'm not sure who provides business from the business office, this audit.
No, this is oil, all, everything there. Well, I can give you the report. We have committees. So you would bring back the expertise and something that happens at the committees to the general board. That's sort of hard to do when you had the meeting at 15 minutes before the executive session. All right, so we really didn't get a chance, so I can take some shots of some of the questions we answered. I have some notes and the discussion. There was several members of the staff, Lawrence from the library, myself, and Felicia Watson were there for the review and discussion of these items. In a perfect world, I would have been able to answer some of that before this meeting, but if you have any questions, ask away and I'll see if I can come close to looking at the right page. I don't know, that's all.
Well, I just, not a question, I just don't feel comfortable passing this tonight, but I haven't read it. I just got it today, or yesterday, and I haven't had time to even move this at all. I mean, I'm sure it's just an audit, but it would be nice to be able to at least digest a little bit, so I could have asked questions.
All right,
Presentation will be received by.
yeah,
Yeah, but the presentation, there's a lot more in here that I have questions on that wasn't presented to us, so.
yeah, but there's also, when I said I could answer some questions, that's because when you read like why something got to this level, you know, I could explain like some is, you did it wrong for so many times, it's at the highest level, even though that offense is very small. Then we have other ones that are there because what? And they were high, and then you get the other ones that are somewhat chronic year after year, and we battle with all the time, and some of the accounting for the fundraisers and cookie sales fall into that category. So I don't, we can put it off if you ever.
The deadline for approval, state approval is coming.
Okay.
So we have to.
Wait. The deadline today, you got this yesterday?
Yeah.
So how?
Mr. President, can I add to this? So the financial statements are presented and prepared by the external auditor, which is firm that is hired by the Board of Education in behalf of the district. So external auditors prepare this, prepare their financial statements, they bring them to the board, and we submit them to SCD. In next board meeting in November, I will prepare, or the business office will prepare in collaborations with the superintendent, will prepare a corrective action plan, which will come based on that's gonna be a board, that's gonna be a decision of the Board of Education to review and approve. And then you'll have be able to review the corrective action plan in that we respond based on the external auditor's report.
That doesn't answer the question as to why this was given to us yesterday, if it's for approval tomorrow, if it's due tomorrow for approval.
We schedule external auditors based on because they have to do presentation for multiple districts. So we schedule them based on their timing that they are able to come and present to the district.
I get that, but I mean, the presentation I'm not concerned about. I'm concerned about this, having this and reading it, understanding what I'm reading, and not, like, I read through some of this today. I took some time off out of work to read some of this, and I had questions prepared, but I don't understand why we got this yesterday, and you want us to approve it tonight because it's due tomorrow.
That is up to the Board of Education,
I know.
well, because,
Listen,
yeah.
If I were, it's like we have no choice but to approve it, because it's due tomorrow. So if we don't approve it, then we gotta comply with the state. So we're in a place where we have to approve this, because you didn't give us any time to digest this. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, the external auditor sent that directly to the district clerk, who
Do we-
provided to the board.
That doesn't work for us?
Yes.
Yes, right, so we knew this was due tomorrow. We knew this. This is the same date that it's due. I just don't understand why I got this yesterday and to vote on it today for something that's due tomorrow. In the future, and I'll vote yes tonight, but in the future, I just have out of respect for my time and me understanding what is going on at this district, especially as a new board member. Same with Naomi, I read everything. And it would just be nice for us to have understood what was going on as new board members on this, in the district. And not just give them 24 hours for, hey, yes, this has to be approved. I'll vote yes, but in the future, I'd like more time to digest and understand what I'm voting yes on.
We appreciate that.
And that's not just for you, that's for any resolution that comes in front of me as a board member. I would like to have time to read and understand what I'm voting on before I vote yes.
I appreciate that, we understand that, and we're gonna make sure to share that with our partners as well. Thank you.
And now that you've seen what's involved with that, feel free, as long as we don't have 3 board members, can come to the meeting.
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's, maybe we'll do it. And there are specific state requirements on this committee. Other committees don't have any requirements from the state. This has quite different aspects of it are submission and all.
Just a clarification, we start this audit sometimes in June, because June 30th, so this audit, it's not this year's budget cycle, this audit is for the previous budget cycle. So we start sometimes in June, and the external auditors have a portal that we have to submit multiple, like months of the financial statements, so we submit it to them. So we did our due diligence by end of summer, and then they take their part, and then we have scrutinized everything, all our financial statements. I will make sure definitely going forward, we'll arrange with the auditors instead of coming in like in September, if they can come early in August, so that then their timing would be earlier for the board to review the statements.
Right, I mean, because
Yeah.
one of the issues was audit timing.
I understand,
Audit
yeah.
preparedness, right? So you're waiting until June to start preparing an audit,
We cannot do it before
I guess
June.
I get it. The school year ends in
July first started.
July first, you can start, right, but
We-
you
we-
can compile, I've done audits, right? I've been a part of audit also, and I get this school year ending on June 30th. I
Yeah,
get all of that, I understand all of that, right? But one of the findings was audit preparedness.
Right, we were about two weeks, I think it was, we were late on getting them 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Right,
It was-
which pushed it back 2 weeks or 3 weeks, right, which could have been 2 weeks or 3 weeks sooner, so these are types of things I'm saying, like, it's not, it's more than, we can't just say, hey, next. You gotta do better, that's all, I just want,
I don't know how to fix it,
I mean, it's done, we'll vote yes.
all right.
Good.
So.
I don't vote yes, I don't vote yes. That's all.
Well, you don't have, we, horrible project.
It's in the curve.
I would have voted yes, I promise.
So let me go back, I was so.
Is that the one at the table?
Motion on the table.
So,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So,
motion,
Motion is to
it carried.
carry.
Aaron, keep that in mind.
All right.
So, what's the next page?
7.4, Dano to the Wilson WJWI. It's the Children's Academy Organization Conference in San Diego. Resolution 26-143. Do I have a motion? First, we're going to.
so
Second. All in favor?
No one said.
Oh, nobody said, I said second.
Oh,
I said second. All right, session, discussion.
discussion, but just really quickly. Again, just to say, if we can get these things beforehand, because we're voting on it and the person is wrong. So can we just get a little bit beforehand, like some type of heads up?
Is Kate there? Is Kate there?
Because,
All right.
no, I'm not gonna ramble on about it late, but the person is in San Diego, so I'm getting like, what do we book? It's already done, so just.
Since they're already there and we're only
I'm
talking,
voting.
wait, let me just. The only expense to the district, if she drove her car to the airport, parking. And if she didn't get there in time for the served meals, maybe a meal in the airport both in. All right, so it's really free. I had some really discussions on this, and so for weeks, and I asked, do we go this way, and I didn't see this to today. And that wasn't brought up in any of the discussions.
That's my point.
All right, I had these discussions. I was, I know there was another spot, I was going to one of the cross to go to San Diego or somebody else, but I just feel that we didn't have a smooth swing on this between the announcement of the grant, which none of us were invited to City Hall for the press conference, all right? And I've had a discussion with one of the co-directors, Gregory Mott, and I'd rather have a conversation with them when we in the next meeting. That's my preference. For that, how do we delay this to the next meeting? Or do you want to have a vote tonight? I'll second my heart feel.
Can I ask a question to Kate first? Kate?
Yep, I'm online, folks.
Can you explain the policy, for out-of-state travel for, Yeah, but can you explain the policy?
The policy, this is a policy regarding out-of-state travel for students or staff.
Staff. Particularly executive director.
Yeah, so I believe our policy as a board provides that we will reimburse travel at IRS-approved rates for any district-approved travel for professional development or other professional activities on behalf of our executive directors.
So we are just, so the policy just to reimburse, is it not for the board to approve them attending or leaving to out of state? For these type of conferences, do we have to approve?
Can I take a try this?
What's
You can't. Well, I have not reviewed the specific policy that Jamar is asking about, so I will certainly defer to you, Bob, to
I guess my question is, why is there, why, if the conference is being paid for by someone else, what is the board approval?
It was my understanding that we approved Mr. Lott's attendance at the last board meeting. All right, so we went through the process. I believe we have always approved the superintendent's travels. All right, so I don't want to go through the policy, but I assume that's what our practice has been, Kate. Did I say that? The right? Our practice is always when our staff travels and there's any expense, be it just driving to the airport and parking, it still goes through this process. Just like you three guys or myself went through for the school board.
Right, so in this case, there was a violation of policy. Because
Well,
on the form that was completed, it says it needs to be submitted 3 weeks before the due date. This request was submitted on October 3rd, the conference started on October 14th. What's the point of us approving this if it's already done? Like, I don't understand, what are we approving if it's already done?
that's why I said, since it's already done, we can delay that vote into the next meeting.
No, I don't think we need to delay.
No, but I think Jamar's point is much more pointed. I think the point is, why is the board retroactively approving things that it should be responsible for approving in the first instance, right? I think that's your point, Jamar.
That's
Which is
my point,
a good one.
exactly. So
Yeah.
if she's already there, there's nothing for us to approve because the action's already done. So I think we should vote tonight. Personally, I think we should vote tonight. I think we should vote no because it's already done. It doesn't make any sense. Because at this point, what we're doing is gonna be continuing this type of bad behavior, right? Mr. Mott submitted his request on August 29th, and we approved that. If Mr. Dino was going on this trip, this would have been done August 29th, and it should have been done August 29th or back in August. So I don't feel comfortable voting yes on something that's already done. That doesn't make any sense.
Kate, I'll defer to you.
So what I would say is that because the reason it's being presented, I would say, is that without a board authorization, it's not a valid charge on the school district. And so I think that is why it is being presented. But I 100% appreciate Mr. Cummings' comment that there isn't much for the board to approve, right? If things are being submitted after the people have already left for conferences. That is not what the policy envisions. The policy envisions that there will be advance submission of a budget, a plan, a justification, with then board approval before the person embarks on the travel.
And that's
So-
whether or not the district gets paid for it.
Because
Yeah.
there is, when you're at the conference, you're not performing duties here too, it's a.
Yeah, so I
it's
think
a
the
hard one.
criticism is extremely well taken, right? I think, but my other point is that if the board does not approve the travel, then there's no ability to reimburse Dr. Dadino, even if we determine that it was a valid school district purpose for her to be there and a valid school district benefit for her to get that professional development. And I don't think that's necessarily a fair or reasonable outcome either. So I think, but I do think that, to Jamar's point, we need to do this right. We should not be submitting, the administration should not be submitting conference requests after they've already booked their flights, scheduled travel, and attended the conference. That is not at all what is envisioned by this policy. What is envisioned is that advance approval would be obtained by the board before that travel is booked and a charge on the
So
school
okay,
district.
that's basically, that's why I put discussion for, that's basically, because if you look at, not to go back to the one, it's the same thing.
Yeah,
It's just getting these things before the person is going, not while they're going. So
not once when they're, yeah, once they've
right, so
already
if we
gone,
hold
it's
our
too
leaders
late.
to a high value, we also as a board should be held to a high standard, including the higher up. So this should be submitted, we're not paying for it, yes, but we're approving it, so it should have been, given us.
So-
And on top of that, this is for community schools, this children cabinet thing and community schools. And the person, this assistant superintendent over community schools here, and Dr. Medina, who's the executive director of effective, operational effectiveness and multilingual.
That's going,
That is,
I mean, that's going a little too low. I think what we should.
No, because that would be the discussion,
But,
we would approve yes or no, it's
I understand, but the board of,
not relevant to her
the
position.
mayor and, Mr. Mott are the board of directors of the children's cabinet. This is connected with that. I believe that Kate has convinced me, I'll blame Kate now, that we should view this, do we want this to happen again?
Yeah, I don't think it should. I don't think it's best
And
practice.
take a
I think
vote
Tamara's made a
that
very valid
expresses-
observation.
Our opinions, all right? And so why do you vote on this? Back to everyone's point, I believe. It should be a roll call vote. All right, and if you want, I'll go first, whichever way. Call the names, Becky. Is there any problem with having a roll call vote now? All right.
Mr. Cummings,
No.
Ms. Fitchum Marquez? No. Ms. Chiarenza,
No.
Mr. Creedon,
Motion
motion?
carried.
Not.
No, motion fails. Motion does not carry. Motion failed.
Sorry, now we
Yeah.
have, which one? 7.5. Here we go.
Motion fails. Motion does not carry. So I do think that the board has made some very valid, concerns here, right? That if there is requests being made for funding using taxpayer dollars to bring people to conferences and other professional development, that there has to be a ROI, there has to be a return on investment, right, proposal that is made to the board to justify that travel. And there has to be advance approval for that travel, not submitting things after the fact, and expecting the board to rubber stamp it. I feel those are very, very valid concerns. And I think the board has, tonight voted in alignment with board policy, which is what it should be doing.
And especially if you're holding our leaders to higher standards, the board should also have a high standard. And that is getting things in a timely manner and not happening while the person is gone. Beforehand, we can review it, but if the person's already gone, then no.
You're right. All right. 7.5 Martina, 2025 fall northeast.
Before we move on to the next item, I do want it noted just on the record, and for anyone who happens to be listening to tonight's meeting, that this has been part of a pattern of sloppiness, right, that we have seen in past as well. So I don't want this to be taken as some sort of indictment of the particular individuals who are at issue on the agenda. And I don't feel that Mr. Cummings or any of the other individuals who raised that issue are doing it for that purpose. And if I'm wrong, Mr. Cummings, you can correct me, but I don't think I am.
You're right.
Right? So I don't think this is an indictment of any of those particular individuals. I feel this simply a desire to course correct and make sure that we're following policy and that that going forward, these things are done in the appropriate order of operations so that the board can actually ensure its role in ensuring fiscal accountability. But I just want to make that clear because I know there was a particular individual's request that was at issue in that motion, and I don't want it to be communicated that there's any sort of indictment of that individual, because I know this has been a practice and there's been sloppiness in the past on this. So I just want that noted, but I think it was a very, excellent observation by the board that we need to be adhering to policy in these regards.
I think related to what you're saying too, Kate, that the pattern may not reside in the individual as well, because sometimes a person has submitted their paperwork well in advance of the deadline, but
It didn't get to the
when
board.
we receive it,
Exactly.
it doesn't get to us. So sometimes, but that's the issue right now.
Yeah, so there may well have been other administrative overlay, right, that resulted in this being sloppy, and that's why I just want to make very clear that we're not indicting the particular individual that is in question here at all.
Process.
Process and not individuals. Good point. Yep.
7.5, another conference, the fall Northeast Foundation Forum in Washington, DC. Resolution 2026, 144.
So moved.
I hear a second.
Second.
All in favor? Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, then.
Comments.
No comments. No comments for the superintendent of schools.
That's.
So, all right, that brings in, Board of Education comments. Naomi?
I want to acknowledge the thoughtful work presented tonight from everyone, from our audit and compliance updates to the school improvement plans. We are on the path to build stronger systems and financial stability. That said, one concern stands out. Student performance remains very low, while several grant funds and targeted resources remain underspent. These two realities can't exist side by side if we're serious about equity and achievement. We need to ensure that every available dollar, especially grant funding, is being strategically deployed to close our most urgent learning gaps in literacy, math, and attendance. I'd like to see future updates show how funds are being tied directly to these outcomes. I'm also asking that all instructional and compliance data be disaggregated by subgroup, race, gender, disability, language, and economic status, so we can clearly see where progress is happening and where the deeper intervention is needed. Our charge is to make sure that this fiscal responsibility translates into tangible, equitable academic growth for all of our students in Poughkeepsie.
I'll be short. Who's got 3 minutes? Got it. It's election season. I am out here to encourage all our families to get out and vote. Early voting starts October 25th and ends November 2nd. Check all of your polling stations in Dutchess County to see where you can early vote. In the city of Poughkeepsie, you can vote on November 4th at any polling station. So if you're at work, if you're riding down the street, you pass a polling station, stop and vote. Please stop and vote. Don't vote alone. Bring your children with you. Let them know why you're voting. Let them know who you're voting for. Explain to them why you're voting for that person. Explain to them what this vote is going to do for them in the future. Get your kids more involved in voting. I think that's pretty much it. Again, I don't mean to start any fires or anything up here. I'm a reader, so don't take my passion for information as an indictment. I'm all looking for information, right? I'm a reader. I read a lot. This stuff it's kind of boring, but it's educating me a lot. District stuff, on education. So don't take my passion for an indictment. Don't take my passion. Thank you, Dr. Turner. Don't take my passion, Dr. Palmer, as an indictment of your work here. I am just super passionate about the city of Poughkeepsie, number one, but I'm very passionate about the education of our youth here in the city of Poughkeepsie. This is the future of the city. These young kids are going to be the ones who are going to be taken care of us in the years. So I want to make sure that we're educating them and giving them all the tools possible to be successful. The same tools that were given to me in this district, I want to be given to those students too. So I appreciate the work that's happening here. Yeah, I'll see you guys next board meeting again, October 25th to, November 2nd. Early voting, October 25th, November 2nd, election day, November 4th. Please go out and vote. Please go out and vote. If you are not registered to vote, you have until October 25th to register to vote, and you can vote on that same day. So there's my spiel. I appreciate it.
Eleanor?
I just want to say that although student achievement is low, we still have a goal to go higher. And as long as we have a goal, I think that with the building managers, the presentation, I thought it was amazing. We all have to be held accountable, and they definitely demonstrated the accountability with their buildings, and that's what I want to see, that they're able, that even though Dr. Martin's not here, to effectively manage their buildings and then provide a plan for how we go out of the red zone into a yellow and a green. So, you know, there's low, but the only way we can go right now, in my opinion, is up. And that's how I feel. If you never have a low, you never decline higher. So I'm very impressed with the building managers, and I just ask them to keep doing what they're doing. I love the way they connect with the community, because you're bridging that distrust for the city district. So that's good. We always have room for improvement. It starts with us. And you know, starts with the superintendent, the board, and whatever we do at this level and the improvements that we want to make, we need to be held accountable as well. Not just the teachers and the principals, but the board as well, make better decisions and be a better district for these children. Because we're all volunteers, no one gets paid here, I'm on the board, so we're here because we love the district, and that's what we want.
I'm gonna make this comment. If you do public addresses and training for a living, nobody says sit in a room for 2.5 hours. All right? If you say your presentation's gonna be 15 minutes, test run it and see if it really is 15 minutes. All right? It does a disservice to all the important thing that's going on. It leads to less participation versus more participation. We're 2 for 2. All right, so we should have an hour and a half of presentations. And the other stuff, and that should be our goal, but everybody has to play along. All right, and I think we're losing people. When we have 2 community members, you know, so I really want to see us succeed. I want to see us open and listening. We're off to a great start. I really appreciate the enthusiasm that everybody brought today. But I also want to implore us to save the same enthusiasm for all our students and inclusive. All right, thank you very much. Have a motion to adjourn. So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Motion carried. I said it. Good night, Katie.
Have a nice night, everybody.
Good night,
Take
family.
care.